Check. There we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. And second stream, 2 days in a row. You know, maybe I'll just start streaming every day. Nah, not really. But I just felt like I wanted to stream today because there's a couple videos that I saw and I didn't really see them. I looked at them, skimmed through them, and I thought they were good. I thought that people need to see it. And so we're going to start out with actually stuff I don't usually talk about, and that's Hollywood. Rob Reiner, you may have heard, believe he's an actor, producer. He's not just a producer, he used to be an actor. Let me look him up real quick. I guess this video is going to explain it. Regardless, Rob Reiner and his wife were murdered by their son. And the son is, of course, arrested and charged with it. But the video here, let's go to reaction. Video here says, the Rob Reiner murder is everything wrong with Hollywood. So I wanted to see, and this guy Moon, he's pretty informative. I just wanted to see what he had to say. And we're going to, it's kind of crazy. You know, murder's something to be taken seriously. And so I'm kind of thinking everything wrong with Hollywood is a lot like he released a video about Goy Slop or Charlie Kirk Slop, which we're actually going to get to that too. Where it at? Oh, well, we're going to get to that too. We're also going to get into the great culture shift. We're going to get into Gen Z's radicalization, foreign influence, specifically Israeli influence on U.S. politics. And if we have time, we might also get into how the U.S. killed Che Guevara, who was a revolutionary. If you don't know who he is, then definitely look into him. He's a pretty interesting figure. So let's get through this ad real quick. Okay. So.
On December 13th,
2025. December 13th, 2025 is when this happened. Alright, let's watch this video.
2025, Conan was hosting a Christmas party, which, to quote Hollywood Reporter, was chance to, quote, shake off the bad mojo of 2025, and look forward toward a happier and more hopeful new year. Rob Reiner is there with his wife Michelle, and their 32-year-old son Nick, not because they wanted to, but because they were allegedly too afraid to leave him alone. And for those who don't know who Rob is, he was one of Hollywood's most successful directors, directing The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, This Is Spinal Tap, A Few Good Men, and he was one of the industry's most influential voices. And they were in Los Angeles, a city of separate worlds that rarely touch but have a lot more in common than everyone thinks. Down at street level, you've got the sprawl, the traffic, the density, people living paycheck to paycheck in apartments they can barely afford. Drive west and up into the hills, and that's where the party was hosted. Here you'll enter a different world behind the gates, where all the celebrities live and socialize. We're talking Bel Air, Brentwood, and the Pacific Palisades, where you find houses behind gates on clean streets, sealed away inside of their own bubble. This is where Hollywood really lives. It's not just an industry, but a completely separate reality with its own rules, its own currency, its own definition of what makes something matter. Up here, problems don't look like problems at first. They look like something money and management can handle, until they can't, and something finally breaks through and gets treated as a shocking rupture rather than the endpoint of a long visible process. Nick is at that party with his parents and their friends, wandering through and asking people the same question over and over, always curious about who these people are and whether they're famous or not. Some are used to it, some think he's drunk, others wonder if he's on something, but almost everyone was uncomfortable. A few even assumed that he may have wandered in from one of the other worlds outside of the hills. When a few guests suggested calling for help, Conan intervened and discouraged calling 911, saying it was his house and he didn't want to escalate the situation or make this public. Eventually, Rob and Nick apparently got into a very loud argument that others overheard, prompting the family to embarrassingly leave the party early. These are household.
Grainger knows that as the procurement coordinator at a manufacturing plant, you can count on auto reordering to have.
So, before we have to listen to that stupid ad, so December 13th, 2025, Conan O'Brien, who's a talk show host, I'm sure you saw him, hosts a party, and Rob and his son Nick are in an argument, and they have to leave the party early. That's where we are so far. Also, guys, forgive me. I always start off a little bit awkward. If you just roll with it, I gotta get that flow. I gotta hit the flow. So yeah.
PPE you need on hand. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hold names in fame and show business, but they're dealing with a very real human crisis. Nick was clearly extremely unwell, and when you scroll through some of the videos surfacing now, you can see his behavior has been concerning for a very long time. Allegedly, he was furious at Bill Hader when Hader responded that he was in the middle of a private conversation. But you still don't think that someone is genuinely capable of doing something as monstrous as this. Sometime in the early morning hours of December 14th, Rob and Michelle Rayner were killed in their Brentwood home by what police called multiple sharp force injuries. Around 12:15 a.m., Nick was then seen near a gas station close to the family home. By 4 a.m., he checked into the Pierside Hotel in Santa Monica, where hotel staff later found the shower and mattress covered in blood. Tragically, it was Rob and Michelle's daughter that discovered the bodies, and Nick was arrested at 9:15 p.m. near the University of Southern California. Trump then dumped that wild post on Truth Social, which was just kind of insane, and it speaks to how desensitized everyone is to violence.
Hold on, let's read that.
Nick was arrested at 9:15 p.m. near the University of kind of.
Okay. Guys, do you like the subtitles? I think I'm going to turn them off. Let me know if you guys want them, but I'm going to turn them off for now. It's kind of in the way. Alright. Very sad thing that happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, and with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace. Guys, I don't know if this is some sort of joke or something. This is like Black Mirror. I mean, I've never been I'm not a Trump fan. You know, especially not the second term. But this is like otherworldly level of narcissism. And it's not about you, bro. Like, it's kind of disgusting. I don't want my president saying stuff like this. So yeah, so Rob Reiner dies, and just so everybody knows, Rob Reiner dies, and the first thing he has to say is, reportedly due to the anger he caused others. So he's saying he died because he hated Trump. And also, Donald J. Trump on Truth Social refers to himself as President Donald J. Trump in the third person. So, yeah, overall, that's just disgusting. Yeah.
And it speaks to how desensitized everyone is to violence now. It's just the same as when all the memification of Charlie Kirk's murder took over everyone's timeline. Quote, a very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away together with his wife, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as the Trump derangement syndrome. Here's something important to understand about Rob himself. Regardless of...
Okay, my bad, guys. So whenever he showed the tweet, He showed it and then went to something else and then went back to it and read it. So I didn't think he was gonna read it. So yeah. But yeah, what Trump? Seriously, dude?
Political views, he didn't grow up in this broken system. He was from just a different generation entirely, growing up on the East Coast in the Bronx. Billy Crystal, who worked with him on When Harry Met Sally, said Rob was, quote, one of the most decent human beings I've ever known. When he transitioned to directing in the 80s, he didn't just hire the most expensive team and chase spectacle. Spinal Tap was a low-budget movie consisting of almost only improvised dialogue, giving viewers the impression they were watching a real heavy metal band. And it's why it was hugely successful, because it was authentic. It was almost the opposite of all modern movies today. And it was in the 2000s and 2010s, as Hollywood transformed into something more algorithmic and hollow, that Rob just seemed to get uncomfortable. He made fewer films and focused more on political advocacy. Friends said he was just frustrated with what the industry had become, with the endless franchises, the risk aversion, and focus on opening weekends over lasting impact. And then there was Nick. To try to understand what happened.
He's really not wrong either. I mean, I don't know what to say about his political views, whatever they may be. He seems like a just straight up liberal, obviously. One thing I try to make people, or not make people, but try to get people to understand is, you know, as long as we're still stuck in the box of thinking that it's left versus right, nothing's going to change. But regardless, Trump is definitely not without blame, and I think there's a lot of shady stuff. But for him to leave the industry like that, you really can't blame him, because you have cut and paste, or copy and paste, like another Mission Impossible came out recently, so that's like number 8 or something. You know, obviously, like Fast and Furious. See, it's kind of a joke how many movies there are, but like, they know that they can make a cheap sequel and make a lot of money off of it because it's a big franchise, but not actually add anything of value. Whereas movies, you know, back in the day, I mean, you have like really thought-provoking things like Eyes Wide Shut. Pretty much anything Stanley Kubrick ever did, even Spielberg, and, you know, like, just Martin Scorsese, all these directors, they made art, you know, regardless of if you agree with their views or not. They made art. Fight Club, you know, Wolf of Wall Street is probably the best biography, like movie, dramatic, whatever, about a real person probably ever. Well, maybe not, but it's up there for sure. And just there used to be some art to it, where and now it's like there's a new Marvel movie or a new Fast and Furious or something like that, where it's just a copy and paste and it has no soul, right? Movies and media used to have soul, and now it doesn't. So you really can't blame him for wanting to leave.
The first thing everyone did was look at his life. For starters, he'd been homeless in Maine, New Jersey, and Texas. He'd also been diagnosed with schizophrenia in addition to suffering from drug addiction, and did have a history of violent outbursts, even apparently having shocking childhood tantrums, though clearly nothing as horrific as this. Reports are now saying that the Rayner family definitely knew his behavior had become more erratic in the lead up to this night.
For the past couple of weeks, both Michelle and Rob have had concerns about Nick's behavior. He'd become a bit more erratic. It seems in the past couple of weeks he became more erratic. His behavior became unpredictable. Even at the party, I believe one of the guests has now come out and said that they overheard Nick arguing, and even Rob was expressing concerns with his own safety when it comes to Nick.
Back in 2015, Rob had directed a film called Being Charlie, co-written by Nick and a friend he met in rehab. The movie follows an 18-year-old drug addict whose father, a former actor running for governor, struggles with his son's addiction. The film revealed that Rob and Michelle had sent Nick to 18 facilities, sometimes against his own will. The first time, he was just 14 years old. Rob admitted he overreacted by sending him to a treatment center when he caught him using drugs. And Rob admitted that when Nick would tell us it wasn't working for him, we wouldn't listen. He said we were desperate, and because the people had diplomas on their wall, we listened to them when we should have been listening to our own son.
The worst freaking
AI ad, the Industrial Revolution and its consequences. So yeah, clearly a history of mental issues with Nick, but you can also say when he was 14, they began sending him to rehabs, and what was that, 15 total rehabs? Let me let this ad play real quick. But like 15 total rehabs, and how old is Nick? Probably like 20 something. Nick Reiner, age 32 years old. Okay. Obviously, that's no excuse, but it does give you a little backstory as to what we're dealing with. And like that quote said, they listen to people with diplomas on their wall instead of listening to their own son. And it's very possible because we also don't know what went down behind the scenes. Now, once again, not justifying anything, but there's got to be a reason for everything, is what I'm saying. Like, there had to be some sort of reasoning, unless there's genuine sociopathic or psychopathic tendencies.
On their wall, we listen to them when we should have been listening to our own son.
You know, the parent is, your main job is to keep your child safe. So I would do anything. I felt at a loss, so I would do anything that, as we say in the film, anybody with a desk and a diploma, I would listen to them. And the whole idea of tough love and you have to be a certain way. And it's not my nature. It's not the way I am built, but I went and did that. You know, and I think that, you know, at the end of the day, I know my child better than an expert does, and I probably should have trusted my own instinct.
But the big question here is why this can happen. Why does first-class treatment in...
It's kind of weird, though, like, the way Nick, right? Yeah, the way he's just sitting there, like, look at that face. Let me zoom in on that. Well, it'll take a little bit more effort than I want to zoom in on it, so... But yeah, look at that. Like, this is as his dad is telling the entire world about his addiction problems.
At the end of the day, I know my child better than an expert does, and I probably should have trusted my own instinct.
But the big question here is why this can happen. Why does first-class treatment in every sense possible fail so badly? How many failings are there along the way to something like this happening? Rehab is a staple of the Hollywood lifestyle, but the majority relapse within the first year. Higher if you're going back to the exact same environment that broke you, which is exactly what happened to Nick and loads of celebrity children before him. The age divide has a lot to do with it. Nick was born into a totally different celebrity dynamic entirely. 2000s Hollywood, where identity is performance, community is transactional, and mental illness gets commodified into content. Rob was trying to apply old school values, genuine engagement, painful honesty, working through trauma as art, to a system that had become fundamentally incompatible with those values. A $50,000 a month facility has quarterly earnings targets. The therapist billing $500 an hour has a schedule to maintain. Nobody's incentive is to sit with you forever until you get better. It does work for some people, but it's...
That right there, yeah. So all the rehabs and, you know, I'm not going to say all therapists, but it's in Hollywood especially, like I said, $500 an hour to talk about your feelings, right? And they have a schedule that they can't... If you want to go past your hour, you're going to have to come back another time. They don't really care about you. They're making money off of you, you know? And also, the more that you come to therapy, the more that they're getting paid. So do you really think that they want you to be done with therapy? And same with the rehab things. They don't want you to get better. In fact, the rehab centers in Hollywood are probably, like, doing really good because of the children that will... or I say children, the Hollywood kids that will go to rehab, come back, relapse, go to rehab again. You know, like, you're looking at a lot of, like, high percentage of celebrities are like, how many times is the average Hollywood celebrity go to rehab? Matthew Perry went to rehab 15 times, so it's not going to give me an average. And that's just, okay. And then, yeah, I don't know if this is just freaking brain rot or whatever, but Taylor Swift, yeah, so one of the, like, questions is, did Taylor Swift get sober? Yes, Taylor Swift is sober or significantly reducing her alcohol intake, especially during intense periods like her Eras tour, a choice she made for discipline and health. Even hinting at past struggles with alcohol in her music, like the Tortured Poets Department. She revealed she stopped drinking for months. Do you really think Taylor Swift is an alcoholic? It seems more like a grift, honestly, like, you know, trying to relate to people who actually have issues. I mean, I don't know her personally though, you know, so maybe not, but I tend to not trust really anything Taylor Swift related. Maybe I should work on that. But yeah, we'll continue with this video.
A paid substitute for real care. And this is Los Angeles all over. It's full of fake approximations of the real thing. You'll walk around Hollywood and realize the city doesn't have a cathedral, but it does have Scientology's Celebrity Center International in the center of Hollywood, with 39 hotel rooms and celebrities like Tom Cruise and John Travolta giving sermons that the rest of us probably wouldn't connect with. As you walk around, you'll find an Erewhon, the upscale organic grocery chain where Hailey Bieber's $22 strawberry glazed skin smoothie sells 40,000 units monthly, and you can get a nice little jar of Manuka honey with it for $78. It's the temple in LA where the religion practices the cult of wellness. Wellness in this world is something that money can buy, but Nick and other tragic Hollywood nepo baby stories prove it can't. Look at what's happening right now with Ariana Grande and the Wicked movie. The way the whole thing just feels completely detached from reality. The baby voices, the faux sincerity, the theater kid effect taken to an almost cultish level. People outside the bubble can tell something's off
And
immediately.
honestly, since we're gonna go ahead and bring up Ariana Grande, guys, I'm sure you've seen it, but just all the videos. One, I see this meme where it's like me when someone gets too close to my girl and I genuinely turn into Cynthia. How do you pronounce her last name? Cynthia Erivo, something like that. But yeah, and it's like stay away, and every time someone touches Ariana, it's just so weird. You know what? Maybe I can pull something up real quick, just like a compilation of Ariana Grande and Cynthia being weird. Compilation, or let's say Cynthia, yeah, Erivo being protective. Weird moments. It's 3 minutes long. Let's go ahead and watch it.
Not the time, helicopter!
Oh, we love you too.
We love you too! Where is our camera? Where we
Love you.
We love you too!
You're amazing. And thank you for believing in us.
So great. That joy. Right in the middle, right in the middle, right in the middle. At your 12, please. Hold space.
This space that she's been living in this
Okay, I'm bored, guys. There's a lot. It's just weird, though. That's the only reason I was bringing it up. And they're like the main. I don't want to say the main stars, but it feels like they are the main stars of mainstream Hollywood right now. With with the Wicked movie and all that, and they're really like. I mean, Stranger Things is out now, and so a lot of people are talking about that. But in terms of like, Wicked was probably the biggest movie of 2025. I never saw it, so I'm not gonna say it was bad or good, but. First of all, Ariana Grande is extremely skinny now, and it's just weird. She wasn't always like that, and there's a lot of videos of her like not being all there. It feels like, and there's like memes where it's like, the interviewer shakes her out of her hypnotism or whatever, and then Cynthia grabs her again and sinks her right back into it, and it's like, look at her eyes, But it's all just, I mean, just weird Hollywood shit. That's why we shouldn't focus too much on this.
Ariana Grande and Cynthia look like they're actually starving. Inside it though, this all gets treated as authentic and meaningful, so it just goes unchallenged. Challenging all this strange performative behavior is offensive and doesn't square with the Hollywood values where eccentricism and disordered behavior blurs into one thing. But if Ariana Grande was your kid, you'd probably be worried looking at these photos. Same with Jaden Smith and his castle head, and his out-of-touch social media posts. With a freaky father like Will Smith who's just completely losing his mind performing to fake AI crowds, and doing everything possible to get attention, there's just
no way that's real. Will Smith performing to AI crowds? See, I really don't keep in touch with Hollywood at all. AI concert. Will Smith using AI crowds for a recent concert clip.
The brighter the heaven you get to enjoy. The harder you fall, the higher you soar. God opens a window when the devil closes the door.
Yes,
believe me, they tried to bleed Will Smith. In the rear view, I see him.
So these are AI? And then his thing, my favorite part of tour is seeing you all up close. Thank you for seeing me too.
And he was the gift to lift me higher. Gifts require faith, so dry your eyes and then you'll find a way out of the madness, out of the maze, and out of the sadness into the rays. The darkest of nights will turn into days. Every storm runs out of rain. Hold on.
Don't you give up on me, no, no, no. I know you can face it, I know you can make it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, right there. AI. Hey.
You gotta believe.
Look at that right there. Look at her face. Right here, guys, right here. Can you see my cursor? I hope you can. But yeah. Bottom right there. Watch this lady's face.
I know you can make it, yeah. You gotta believe.
Bryson
Believe in
Gamble.
yourself.
Bryson
You
Gamble.
can do it.
Take it home.
You can do it. You can make it. Yes, you can. Yeah. I know you can make it.
Through the dark night.
Wow. Let's see what it says. This is pathetic. This is a weird one as his tour seems to be going well, but for some reason his team decided to use AI crowds. And this is true. What's concerning is that once they get this right, we'll be able to discern what is real or not, whether it's upscaled or fully generated. Unfortunately, I think these guys are worried about, you know, a crowd and a show, but like, you could also be talking about this is an AI, completely AI generated, but saying like these people are causing uprisings and targeting a specific group of people, and then that's going to be, you know, so AI is very slippery slope. You can make it. Help me survive cancer. Thanks, Will. And as far as AI goes, that one's like the least AI out of the rest of them, but also, yeah, like all the signs are saying like you helped me survive cancer or I love you, Will. Like that's kind of crazy. It's a little narcissistic, I would say. And speaking of the Smiths, Jaden Smith, you know, man, he's the result of what happens when you grow up with a dad like that. And honestly, I think he's done pretty well with it. I mean, he owns his own restaurant chain that gives out free food. You can only pay if you only have to pay if you can pay. Yeah. But like so like take what you need and then pay what you can, pretty much. And obviously you have to be rich to be able to do that, but that's a good use of resources, I would say. That's pretty cool. And you know, whenever Jaden Smith was ahead of the curve, we all should have been focused on the socio and political economic state of the world, you know, but we clowned him, and he was right. We should have been, because look where we are now.
Normal reference points for someone like him, especially with his mum and dad's fame and very public relationship problems. Living up in one of these gated hills in Los Angeles, you're just so out of touch you almost don't know what real reality ever is. Normal people get to find out who they are and others are through trial and error. Celebrity kids, or those celebrity adjacent like Nick, never get that. They grew up in this hall of mirrors where every reflection is distorted by fame and status, and every small choice is magnified by the press.
Nick Reiner once admitted he faked being crazy to get medication.
Falls into this concept called ontological insecurity.
Ontological security is a stable mental state derived from a sense of continuity in regard to the events in one's life. Oh, so you're saying celebrities don't get that because there's no continuity in their lives.
Basically a pervasive uncertainty about whether you even exist as a real person. For most of us, that's like a 3 a.m. existential crisis we once had in university, or it might just happen after severe stress or bereavement. But for kids immersed in this world of fame in Los Angeles, that's just your baseline reality. When there's always a camera around, when your parents' careers depend partly on maintaining a certain image, when every interaction is about what you can get from other people and their status, when the main thing you care about is your follower count, where every birthday party might end up in TMZ, it begs the question, where's the line between the real you and the performance? I mean, you see this just endlessly all the time. The Rock, Will Smith, James Corden, Justin Bieber, even Diddy. We've spoken about this so many times on the channel. Child stars get pushed into adult spaces surrounded by power, money, and secrecy. Years later, addiction, eating disorders, and abuse. The public eventually...
Britney Spears, perfect example. Macaulay Culkin, perfect example. Miley Cyrus, perfect. Pretty much every Disney child star, especially back then. Even Drake and Josh. I forget which one of them is the pedo and which one of them is normal. I think Drake is the normal one and Josh is the weirdo. But once again, do you think he would be like that if it wasn't for being on a Nickelodeon show when he was young and probably getting diddled by what's his face? The Nickelodeon guy who... Dan Schneider. Let me show you his face. And it's just like... Yeah, this guy right here. So... And once again, that's not an excuse for his behavior, for Drake Bell's behavior, but you got to think, a lot of times the people that end up doing this, like look at this face right here, man. Oh, it's a shitty picture, very small, but it's a creepy ass smile. I'm actually probably gonna save that picture. Me when I'm a freaking Dan Schneider, post it on Instagram or something, get some likes. But yeah, he's like known. He's done a lot of weird stuff with children throughout his career. And not just, I mean, the most important thing is, yeah, like he touched them or had them do sexual favors or did a bunch of weird stuff, but also like the actual show itself, like the script. He was writing the scripts, and he got away with a lot of weird stuff in the script. Like the scene, I'm pretty sure it's from Drake and Josh whenever he has the milk pour down his jeans or whatever, and it just like he saw something happen, and then they're like, "Are you okay?" And then next thing you know, the milk starts pouring out of his jeans, which is obviously a metaphor for you know what, and that's a kid, you know what I mean? And then freaking iCarly or that other show that's like iCarly, you know what I'm talking about? It's like Cat or Victorious or I don't know. They're all the same to me, but yeah, they all have weird sexual innuendos, and it's not like a family movie. Like, for example, Marvel has had like sexual innuendos before, but those go over the head of children, and it's for the adults. I still think it's weird, you know, but in shows like on Nickelodeon and Disney and stuff, it seems like a little more a little weirder, I would say. And you know, we might just go ahead and find a video on that too, to get like all. That's why I like these videos, because all of your examples are just, you know, here's one, instead of sitting here and researching, I had someone else do it for me, you know, so it gets lazier. But yeah, check out Moon. This video's almost done.
Gets who these people are. I mean, just think of Britney when she went from being the biggest celebrity ever to a Hollywood footnote. And so the way that Nick describes his relationship in that interview really revealed a whole lot about what it means to grow up in this weird dynamic.
I think the bonding came not from the story itself, but from the fact that we were working on a movie together, and I could see him in his, I would think, in the form that he could express himself the best, which is making movies, because he has so much experience. And so seeing that sort of turned me around to be like, okay, I should probably shut up and listen to him, because he knows a lot more about this.
I just think that's such a fascinating thing to say, that like your father, who you would always want to be at his best as your father, may be a type of person who's at his best when he's making movies, and that makes him more understandable or relatable as a father to you, which is so fascinating to me.
Yeah, that it really clicked for me, because we didn't bond a lot as a kid. Like, he really liked baseball, I like basketball, and he could watch that with my brother, but baseball. But I just, when I saw him do that, and it was something that I'm interested in, I was like, wow, like he really knows a lot, and like it made me feel closer to him.
So he only felt close to his father when watching him work, when Rob was being Rob Reiner the director, not Rob Reiner the dad. But the real truth is, stories like this are just a microcosm of something going on all over Los Angeles. For years, it's...
Yeah, no, you can't just do that, bro.
When Rob was being Rob Reiner the director, not Rob Reiner the dad. But the real truth...
The E.T. star started acting just at 5 years old, but by 14, she'd already been through rehab and attempted suicide while living a chaotic lifestyle alongside her party-loving mother. Emancipation gave her the freedom to work as an adult and rebuild her life, ultimately becoming one of Hollywood's most beloved comeback stories.
Like this are just a
The Modern Family actress lived with alleged abuse until she couldn't take it anymore, finally gaining emancipation at 17 after accusing her mother of physical and emotional harm. She moved in with her older sister and continued thriving on one of TV's biggest sitcoms, proving she could succeed on her own terms.
Of something going on all over Los Angeles.
After Home Alone made him one of the biggest stars of the 90s, Culkin found himself caught in a nasty divorce battle between his parents, both fighting over his massive earnings. So his two parents are divorcing, and they're fighting each other over the money that their son made. At 15, he sought emancipation and placed his fortune in a trust, stepping away from the toxic custody dispute that threatened to consume his childhood.
For years, its grinding system has turned personal crisis into logistical problem, something to be handled through access, money, and management. That's how people can deteriorate in plain view without ever becoming anyone else's responsibility. Problems don't belong to the group, they belong to the individual. If you are rich, you can just pay $100,000 a month for rehab or send someone to a new therapist with a different degree from a different Ivy League university. LA still gets away with the solution, as it's been running the most successful marketing campaign in human history for about a century. Hollywood exported this image of sunshine, palm trees, beaches, beautiful people living their best lives. The place where you reinvent yourself and anything becomes possible. Just look at La La Land as the perfect case study, a movie that won 6 Oscars and got nominated for...
Has anybody seen La La Land? I always hear about it, but I've never actually seen it. Isn't it like a love movie? I think I like the camera up here better. Oops.
And it's basically a love letter to Los Angeles that romanticized struggling artists chasing their dreams in the city. Millions of people move to the city because they believe these kinds of stories, but the dream is unfortunately just a dream for 99.99% of people today. As LA is a modern city right now in 2025, it's just completely broken. It's an endless suburban sprawl, with no third spaces, individualistic, living in isolated boxes, with the streets lined with homeless, desperate people. Things like...
Yeah, LA is a total scam. I mean, and I guess you have to research this to know it, but yeah, LA is homeless capital of the world, crime capital. I mean, New York might be, I don't know. LA and New York are pretty much neck and neck, and it's crazy because they're total opposites, right? You have New York, which is the Big Apple and super dense population and everyday people. And then, I mean, there's a lot of celebrities there too, but you would think it would be different. You know, it's just a totally different culture, different atmosphere, different everything. But what is the same is extreme homelessness, extreme crime, extreme poverty, and the way people live. Forget buying a house in LA or New York. You're going to live in a little box, like an apartment, but like a studio apartment. You're going to be paying way more than it's worth. And it's depressing. You know, and when people are depressed and they have nothing to live for, that's how crime and stuff like that happens. And, you know, highest drug use too. Like, LA is not the magical place that they want us to think it is, right? it's a wasteland.
Transportation are filthy, unsafe, and not even working properly. The city spends billions and it just seemingly evaporates. Instead, you have to usually spend 2 hours a day minimum sitting in traffic sealed in your metal box, while the built environment around you is literally falling apart. Away from the hills and the beach, there are whole neighborhoods without proper roads or sidewalks. Endless homeless encampments full of fentanyl addicts with rotting limbs unable to access life-saving healthcare. Or even when they can, they just choose not to. All of this accumulates to the fact that if you live up in the hills away from all of this stuff, you just become a mutant.
How do you think it feels as a child? Like, for example, let's use Nick, right? In the 90s, all these problems were still prevalent in LA. But, I mean, they've gotten worse for sure. But in the 90s, you know, you live in literally right down the road in the hills. You're in the hills. You live in luxury. Whatever you want, you can have. Like, what someone thinks to be the perfect life is, you know, rich parents, do whatever you want, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, that's not the case a lot of times. But regardless, your family's very well off. You have a lot of opportunities. You have opportunities that people don't have. And you travel 5 minutes down the road, and it's tent city. Drugs everywhere. Just poverty, just crime, just everything. And how do you think that affects a child? You know, he talked about the effects of fame and just as a child, but that also would affect a child. At least I think it would affect me quite a bit to grow up so wealthy. And then, I mean, think about Jaden Smith. Jaden Smith probably saw that and reacted in a positive way and said, well, I'm going to create this restaurant, you know, and I think it's really cool that he did that. But, like, it messes with you psychologically.
To it. You become numb to human emotion, which is crazy when you realize LA's GDP is over $1 trillion, which is higher than Switzerland or even the Netherlands. And yet this is just
LA's GDP is higher than, so just this, not even the state of California, the city of Los Angeles has a higher GDP, which is like the gross domestic product, the amount of money that was made pretty much totally without taxes and all that, 936 billion in Switzerland, and Netherlands is 1.047 trillion, and this is $1,075 trillion GDP in just Los Angeles. How big is Los Angeles? And I don't know if you guys saw that show You, with the creep, the stalker who, like, you know, like stalks women, makes them fall in love with them, ends up killing them most of the time. But there's, like, you know, one of the seasons he ended up in California, and they did a really good job romanticizing California. And, like, even the whole thing is, like, Joe, the character, hated Los Angeles, or hated California. He's from New York. And her name was Love, but the love interest in that season was like, oh, you gotta come with me. You're gonna love it. It showed, like, all the best food, and, you know, everybody's smiling on the streets. It's just beautiful, you know, and that's totally not what it is at all. I mean, I'm sure there's, like, one area, like the places where those new grocery stores are that these celebrities run that are just health and wellness, you know. I mean, I'm sure there's areas, but LA is not a good place to be at all. And it's just funny how, like, Netflix, Hollywood will try to, you know, that's still propaganda today. Like, that season was what, a few years ago? Not that long. I mean, probably like 2020 maybe. I don't know, but regardless, it wasn't that long ago, and they're still trying to promote LA as this utopia when it's the exact opposite.
Of life. If you're one of these people, you will just drive past it every day. It's just there, part of the landscape, and after a while, you just stop seeing it. The city teaches you how to not see things, and if you want community, you have to pay for it. That's why underneath all the Erewhon smoothies, group meditation sessions, sound baths, vitamin drips, is one of the loneliest Erewhon smoothies, group things, and if you want community, while you just stop seeing it.
It's desensitization. When you see crime in the streets all the time, when you see poverty and violence, you just stop seeing it, like you said. And this next part's really important.
The city teaches you how to not see things, and if you want community, you have to pay for it.
if you want community, you have to pay for it. Back in the day, your community was like your family. You know, you don't have to pay for friends too. So friends, you know, you meet someone cool and you talk. In big cities like LA and New York's a bit different because New Yorkers are just crazy, you know. But like in LA, you don't stop and talk to people. Like you will, unless you're in a health and wellness store or something, some matcha store. But like that's weird. I said matcha. But like if you're saying something like that, then yeah, you could probably meet people. But gym memberships, group yoga, whatever it is, that's the only way to like have a community in LA, and you have to pay for it. So what happens to all these homeless and impoverished people? They don't have community, and when you don't have community, you're more likely to commit crimes and have less of a reason to live.
That's why underneath all the R1 smoothies, group meditation sessions, sound baths, vitamin drips, is one of the loneliest cities in the world.
Loneliness problem in LA.
Guess what happens when people become persistently isolated and anxious? Well, they often develop mental illnesses or turn to substances to cope. So you take someone, especially a vulnerable kid like Nick Rayner with psychiatric risk factors, drop them into an environment where substances are everywhere and private doctors will prescribe whatever keeps you functional, surrounded by people who are just trying to get something from you because of your dad's fame, can just lead to absolute psychoticness. And no amount of rehab is going to fix that when the environment never changes. If it's just normal to take Adderall to focus, Xanax to calm down, Ambien to sleep, and Coke and alcohol on weekends to feel something again, there's now an entire
I mean, yeah, Hollywood. See, the title of this video is "The Rob Reiner Murder is Everything Wrong with Hollywood," and I want to one up that and say that Hollywood is everything wrong with the world. And, I mean, you can see this from a child's perspective of how damaging it's been on all the child stars and everything. But on top of that, just being a normal person in LA, being in LA will take your soul. Because if you're in LA, you're trying to get famous, first of all. You're going to step on whoever you need to step on. You're going to do whatever you need to do to be famous. And that right there is going to eat your soul. And then on top of that, not even talking about spiritual matters, if you're a regular person, not rich, you live in LA, you're paying probably $3,000, or I'd say $2,000 minimum for a studio apartment, right? A studio means everything in one room. So, you know, like a one bedroom has a kitchen, has a living room, and then one bedroom, right? A studio apartment is kitchen, living room, bedroom, all in one. And I'm sure there's still a separate bathroom because you got to have that. I'm pretty sure that's like by law. But regardless, that studio apartments are depressing, you know? You're barely being able to afford a studio apartment. This is if you're a normal person. Barely able to afford just living. And then on top of that, everything's more expensive. Groceries, gas, whatever it is, a ridiculous increase. Like, how much are groceries in LA versus, let's just say Dallas versus Dallas, right? Because Dallas is a big city. It's still expensive. Groceries are significantly more expensive, estimated around 10% higher, right? LA residents paying $295 a week. And so for an entire family of 4, like as I grew up, my entire family of 4, we did not spend more than $295 a week on groceries. And it doesn't say this, but I'm pretty sure this means for one person. Yeah, cost of living. This is just talking about like, what does it take for one person to live? So you're spending $295 a week on food for you a week. That's roughly $1,200 a month. And Dallas is not much better, actually, $282. Thankfully, I don't live there. And groceries around the country are expensive too. But yeah, 300 plus. California has higher living costs. Yeah, Hollywood is everything wrong with the world.
Of sober living influencers in the hills, people documenting their recovery journey for content, monetizing their trauma, building personal brands around sobriety. Mental health has become an aesthetic too. Therapy speak dominates conversations, everyone's setting boundaries and doing the work and healing their inner child. But a lot of this is just performative. You're not processing trauma, you're just posting about processing trauma. Which leads to a strange parallel here to Rob Reiner's most famous film. This is...
You're not processing trauma, you're just posting processing trauma. That was a bar, Moon. Good job. That was a bar. But let's see about this parallel here.
Tap is fundamentally about people who've lost perspective, a rock band so deep inside their own world that they can't see how absurd it's become. Everyone thinks they're being sincere when they're not, like when you turn the amplifier up to 11 thinking that one extra number is going to make everything better. Rob understood what happens when you lack self-awareness perfectly when he was making the movie, how you can do everything you're supposed to do and still fail because you're operating in a framework that doesn't work. In the film's case, that's the rock industry. In LA, it's real life, a city full of people just following broken systems, trying their best within structures that ensure failure, eventually rupturing incidences that appear random but are really the endpoint of that much larger, more visible process that becomes invisible the closer you are to it.
So yeah,
I have a question for you.
That's all I want to hear about Hollywood. Honestly, that kind of sucked to sit through, but I did think it was important. This kind of shows, first of all, rest in peace, Rob Reiner's wife. No one deserves to die like that, no matter who you are. But mental health and the effect on like living situations, like whenever you can't afford to live, you have to pay for community. When the natural order of things is just disrupted by greed, that's how we get murder and just all kinds of crime in general, and just you don't that's not something that you want to be a part of. So that video kind of pointed that out, but like I said, that's enough Hollywood for me. This next video is by this guy named Dupley. I might have seen him before, not really sure, but it's called The Great Culture Shift, and I do want to see what this is about, guys. Let's check it out.
Things are changing. If you teleported someone from 10 years ago to today, their first impression would be that not much has changed. Phones got bigger, prices went higher, and GTA 6 still hasn't come out yet. But us who have actually lived through that period, though, we know the truth. We know nothing is the same. A couple years ago, hip-hop was the biggest genre in the world. Now it's dead. Just yesterday, everyone was holding their tongue and staying PC. Now, nobody cares. Today I want to answer the question on everyone's mind. What the fuck happened? These are the 5 stages of a culture shift.
This looks like it's gonna be good.
Stage 1, beginning.
Welcome to the year 2014. We're here at the tail end of Obama's presidency. V-necks are cool, Instagram filters and Vine videos are at their peak.
V-necks are cool.
Got him!
Classic.
My name is Jeff. Everyone is doing the Ice Bucket Challenge, and Happy by Pharrell Williams is the biggest song on the planet. The general vibe is...
Man, times really were simpler back then, huh? Ice Bucket Challenge, Vine, V-necks. Wow. 2014. The music was awesome. Or not awesome, but just nostalgic, I guess you could say now it is. It's just everything was like 2014, 2016 era, man. And that's coming from someone who grew up in it. I don't know what it was like to be an adult in it. But yeah, what has happened? That's honestly a good question, looking back on just this small clip. What has happened? We're in a completely different society.
Well, kinda joyful. Yeah, you guys remember that? I mean, if Happy dropped today, it would flop diabolically, become a TikTok meme, and get categorized as coworker music, all within a 40.
That's totally right, too. This shit corny as... ASL, does that mean as hell? Because, I understand ASF, that makes sense. Well, actually, no. AS. The only proper use for that slang or that abbreviation should be AF, because it's a abbreviation or acronym, right? So every letter means a word. Like TS is this shit, right? What does ASL mean in slang? I'm pretty sure it means as hell, and it irks me. It irks me. ASL meaning slang. Yeah, as hell. This shit corny as hell. ASL. Like, can you not type 2 more letters? 2 more letters in one space? Yeah. But yeah, he is right about Happy for sure. Everybody would think that was super corny. And it's honestly like a great song. I enjoy it, you know. But if it came out today, I don't think it would do very good at all.
Our window.
Things wouldn't stay like this for long, though, as behind all the corny enthusiasm in the pop sphere, change was coming.
In the most unexpected form.
Gotta love these ads. Hip hop.
Hip hop had at
Young
one
Money.
point been a massively successful and influential genre. By the time 2014 rolled around, though, it seemed like those days were long gone, and that the once giant cultural force was on its last legs. Some may have disagreed, but the charts certainly seem to point in that direction, as 2014 statistically marked the lowest presence the genre had had on there in a long time. Mainstream hip-hop was dead, and the genre needed a spark, a wave that would pull it back up to the center of everyone's attention. In another corner of society, though, that was already happening.
There is growing outrage tonight after an unarmed African-American teenager was shot and killed by police in the St. Louis suburb of Ferguson, Missouri.
Leading up to 2015, several disconnected examples of inequality had managed to cross over from online virality to nationwide outrage.
They're mad. I'm mad. We should all be mad, man. We should all be angry because of what's going on right now.
We are asking for games to be more inclusive. We're asking for games to acknowledge that we exist and that we love games.
With the rise of social media, there was a growing...
What's up? Streaming?
Oh, you're on stream right now? Am I in it?
Yeah.
What does my hair look like?
You can't see your hair. Don't worry.
Can you give me a kiss?
Yeah, come here.
Up here?
Lean down and give me a kiss. Sorry, they're hearing us kiss with the mic. Sorry, guys. Right. Chili's on the stove. If you want to stir it real quick, you can.
I'm gonna shower first.
Yeah, but if you just want to stir it real quick, check on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You got any more trash over here?
No. Well, this water bottle right here. Alright, let's see what's up.
feeling that everyday people now had the power to make an actual change. Nobody really knew at the time, but this was only the beginning of something much greater. In stage one, the seed is planted, the foundational idea is shared amongst the collective. The vibes are in the air, okay? And now it's up for people to grab them and make them into something real. Most movements stop here, but every so often, they move into
Stage 2, Rise.
Seeing the stale atmosphere hip-hop's veterans had left behind, the new generation decided to try something different.
Hold up, Thug wanna play some new shit.
Also, wait, it did say in like 2014 was like the lowest. Did Kanye release an album in 2014? I don't think so. Because obviously, if the most influential didn't release an album, yeah, no album in 2014. He did release a single, but I actually never heard only one. Worked on a follow-up album that became The Life of Pablo. He was actively preparing a new project. Regardless, though, proven correctly, you know, the greatest artist of our generation didn't release anything in 2014. So of course the genre looked a little flat. What?
Is this towel clean?
I used it to shower, but yeah, it should still be.
You could hear their music online, mainly on SoundCloud and YouTube, and every once in a while one would creep onto the radio. These so-called mumble rappers didn't take pride in their lyricism or messaging. They just put all their focus into energy, swag, and melodies. They were seen
Bass
as
god.
a joke, okay?
Dupley knows the bass god. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Shouts out to Pac, for real, guys.
Most people didn't take them seriously, so they didn't see it coming. But over time, these artistic choices would form into a distinctive sound and aesthetic in the underground. And soon enough, with nothing happening in the mainstream, these fresh ideas would begin rapidly gaining traction. By the time 2016 rolled around, SoundCloud artists were blowing up overnight.
I wonder if these rappers were realizing that their popularity was coming from children. Like when it showed that look, 21 Savage right there when he was super young. Pretty sure that's Kodak. Like they're all getting popular from children listening to their stuff. Because like the adults that liked rap at that time did not like mumble rap. Just something strange.
Water.
Also, the Hodge twins don't count, okay? Though I'm pretty sure that was the Hodge twins. They don't count. They're also making videos for children.
Water.
All of a sudden, hip-hop is cool again, and everyone is talking about it.
I know these old hip hop heads is pissed.
Oh, like Joe Budden? I know you watching this shit like.
Put up on your bitch, she suck my dick, and then you kissed the
Goddamn.
That's the worst freestyle I ever heard in my life. Memes, debates, and micro trends are at an all-time high.
I just read about this kid who spent 15 hours saying Gucci Gang.
The new wave is coming, and everyone...
I just read about this kid who spent 15 hours saying Gucci Gang. Crazy times.
Feel it.
This is day 1 of my husband doing Tai Chi walking workout. This is day 21 of my husband doing
It's 2016.
Another damn AI ad.
The year most Gen Zers talk about, like it was the last time they felt happiness. And I'm Gen Z, and they're absolutely right. That shit was just different, I'm sorry. Like you put your Yeezys on, grab your hoverboard, go out in the street, open the Pokemon Go app, you go online and there's like a new Vine trend.
Damn, Daniel, back at it again with the white band.
Damn Daniel, Mannequin Challenge, Running Man, Juju on that beat. No real worries, just Harambe, killer clowns, and the 73-9 Warriors. Like compare that shit to now, all these new generations have is
6'7", 6'7".
What you know about the dab? Young Buck? The fuck? You wish you were Unc. You wish you were Unc. Back into the real world, and things are heating up. As Trump gets elected president, more and more people start feeling a responsibility to stand up and finally say something. At this point in time, the outrage we saw at the start of the decade started becoming more and more frequent. As useless as that sounds, they actually made a difference. The Me Too movement exposed high-profile predators and sent a lot of them to jail. Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, Weinstein, and
Kevin Spacey
all get packed up. It's over with. The internet finally made people answer for their shitty past.
Colin Kaepernick sitting down, he said, to take a stand against the growing number of unarmed black men killed by police and racial injustice in general.
We just got out of a long-term relationship with a very boring but sensible person, and now we're dating a whore.
Thousands of Americans enraged by the man voted into office by millions of other Americans.
Fake hair, she's racist, she's always lying, we don't care!
You don't have an option. You have to stand up, speak up, act up.
On Hollywood's biggest night, it was activism that took center stage.
So
I'm hyperventilating a little bit. If I fall over, pick me up because I've got some things to say.
Our voices joining together in a mighty chorus that is finally saying, time's up.
We put up monuments for the feminists. Tell the NRA they in God's way.
As we moved closer to the end of the decade, those who never had a voice increasingly started banding together, and seeing the positive effects their actions could now have, thought to themselves, maybe we can actually do this.
Stage 2 occurs when all those people who shared a common idea in Stage 1 start linking up, connecting, and building towards a common goal. The new wave is in full effect and ascending rapidly into
Stage 3. Peak.
Stage 3 marks the peak of the movement's popularity as the average Joe comes to discover what all the fuss is about. The thing, whatever it is, then becomes increasingly commercial and accessible for mass consumption. At this point, your alcoholic uncle will bring up Thing at a family gathering.
The problem they have is that I don't give a fuck. They don't cancel me, I cancel them.
Your parents ask you about Thing. SNL makes an awkward skit on Thing, which will make you slightly uncomfortable and chuckle one time. Hey, who the fuck watches this shit?
And even though this seemed like the natural trajectory of both movements, nothing could possibly prepare people for what was about to come.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. We are going to begin right now with breaking news because the World Health Organization has declared the coronavirus outbreak a pandemic.
COVID just hit. Everyone's inside and scared. But I'm not gonna lie, I was happy as fuck. You're telling me I don't have to go to school and...
What are you doing?
...and spend the entire day doom scrolling? Bro, sign me up.
It has to come from the same virus to be in the same family. Viruses come in families. Stop touching niggas with your...
What?
Well, I said I'm not interrupting.
Yeah, you are now.
This was the era of face masks, Zoom meetings, Among Us sessions, and TikTok videos.
I'm in the house bored in a house and I'm in the house bored.
And to make matters worse, nearly a decade of protests culminated in the explosion that was the murder of George Floyd.
Hands up, don't shoot!
Riots and protests engulfed the entire country for several months, while the issue of social justice became unavoidable and omnipresent.
The Black Lives Matter movement has unleashed a wave of protests against racism worldwide.
If you've exhausted every option of peaceful protest for decades, and the prosecution of police still hasn't changed, what would you do?
Protest is pretty fucking amazing. They seem to be dedicated to change in a way that I can't remember anything like this in my life.
The state of pop culture at this point showed us that racial awareness was mandatory, LGBTQ appreciation was necessary, and that social justice was cool.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
That video of Jesse Pinkman, I don't know, what's the actor's real name? I don't know, but they're like, it says, "Oh brother," but it's like, I know Jesse did not want to say that shit. I'll just
Take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
He looks like Walter.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility for every unchecked moment.
Next, and what is possible?
Also, that was just a bunch of white people taking responsibility for being white. That's what that whole thing was for.
My second favorite story this month, Netflix and Amazon Prime came together to fight homophobia.
Quote, an unnecessary gay character.
Sorry you've yet to realize that every gay person is very necessary.
700,000 likes.
We love gay people too!
And folks, tune into the radio to hear the #1 song in the country, Montero.
Lil Nas is gay. Oh, let me stop.
You know, I was actually thinking about this today. Like, do you everybody knows when Old Town Road came out, like shit went crazy, you know. Everybody was, you know, it was one of those big deals, right? No one knew he was gay at that time. And I was just thinking to myself, wondering, do you think if everyone knew he was gay at that time, would he had still reached the level of superstardom, right? Because this isn't an argument of, you know, like whether people think it's okay or not to be gay. It's an argument of he got really famous off Old Town Road, which has nothing to do with gayness. And then he's twerking on the devil and stuff like that, and everybody's seeing it because of Old Town Road. It was just something I was thinking about. It's kind of weird.
What? I gotta edit that out. Okay, Dad, you look like you homophobic.
No, I'm not homophobic.
Girl boss main leads dominated TV.
I belong to no one.
I identify as non-binary.
There's a really long history of black people not being treated fairly in this country. It has to stop.
Quinn has gender dysphoria.
I didn't know they got Arthur too, man.
And gender is not one she identifies.
I will no longer allow an unchecked woman. I will no longer allow racist, hurtful words, jokes, stereotypes, no matter how big or small, to be uttered in my presence.
Moral purity became everything, okay? How much do you care? How good of a person are you? Those were the main questions of the COVID era. At the same time that social justice issues were reaching their zenith, hip-hop was also peaking. Coasting off the momentum of the SoundCloud wave, the entire genre had embraced a homogenous trap aesthetic. But not without reason. I mean, it worked, and it didn't stop working. It was the sound of pop charts and pop culture. Every commercial had a trap beat in the background. Labels started mass producing industry plans to capitalize on the goldmine that mainstream rap had become. Nav was selling 130K first week. What are we talking about? At this point, hip-hop was the biggest genre of music in the world, becoming bigger than it had ever been. Even larger-than-life pop stars were desperate to jump on the wave.
When you see the max, they stacked up like my ass, yeah. Go from the south to the booth, make it all back.
Ariana Grande had a whole era where she just spray painted her skin brown.
I'm like, bitch, that's my cookie, that's my juice, okay? Carry on.
Talked strictly in awe.
This is the Mac I'm here to talk about today, girl. Come on.
And made watered-down trap music.
Make big deposits, my gloss is popping.
Kill me, get your ass in here. Come on, girl.
This is actually real. Like, her fans call it the Blackiana era. In just a couple of years' time, both of these movies.
And now she's days away from starvation. Stopped tanning and completely. So was it code switching, or was it performing? Was it just trying to get in on the trend and get the money? And was that okay? Where do we draw the line? Is it okay to for Ariana, because she's Mexican or Hispanic, to tan her skin and talk with a black accent and do that, but racist jokes aren't acceptable? Or are they only acceptable when it's from colored people? You know what I mean? Like, where do you draw the line? I think that's the big problem with the woke era. What happened is I think they pushed too hard, and there was a big counterculture that came back and said, well, you can cancel us if you want. We're not gonna play along with this. And so I think that's kind of what happened there. I feel like if they didn't push too hard, then it probably wouldn't have happened.
Conquer the world. And now, having been rewarded with great success, the founders are no longer focused on innovating. Instead, their primary goal is to maintain their status, polishing the ideas that had worked so well for them in the past.
Who is the Fat King?
Meet Drake. It's the end of 2021 and he's the biggest rapper in the world. Larger than life and in complete control of hip-hop. It hadn't always been this way though. Once upon a time, he was just an awkward, geeky kid who stuck out like a sore thumb amongst his rapper peers.
I just want to make music that people enjoy.
You know,
While on radio, young Drake might have been a rising star and hitmaker, amongst the hip-hop community, he was a laughing stock.
I don't like anything about Drake. Mom, I don't like his voice. I don't like what he talks about. I don't. See, I be trying to tell his face. I don't like the way he walks, like nothing. I don't like his haircut.
An emotional pussy who talked about women and feelings too much.
He's so emotional, man. When did rap become that? He'll just make a song that's just like, oh, I'm crying.
From that point on, Drake did everything in
Whoa,
his power
hold
to
on.
dominate the rap game,
Who was
secretly
that?
hoping. Point on.
I brought up you earlier, and this looks exactly like the guy who was the creep, the old. He beat cancer. If you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. Hold on, who was the guy who tried to drug Ellie? Oh, spoiler, guys. Sorry. In you. On you. Henderson. That's right, Henderson. Who played Henderson? Chris D'Elia. Oh, so okay, and yeah, so that was him. That's Chris D'Elia, right? I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Drake did everything in his power to dominate the rap game, secretly hoping he could change the mind of all those bullies who didn't let him in at the start of the decade. It took a lot of work, a lot of dedication, and a lot of great music. Fast forward to 2021, and Drake had gotten exactly what he was asking for. His vulnerable and emotional approach had completely changed the foundation of the rap game, and was finally accepted as normal. Drake was now not only
Did he really make a music video where he sat there in a room crying?
he was asking for. His vulnerable
Look at this dude.
emotional approach had completely changed the foundation of the rap game, and
He really sat in a room and made that.
finally accepted as normal. Drake was now not only the undisputed king of the biggest music genre in the world, but also well respected.
Undisputed? Excuse me? I think you're forgetting about Mr. West. Just saying.
Almost every corner of its culture, even managing to convince some of his street credibility. Aubrey didn't want to change things anymore. Aubrey wanted things to stay the same.
Lesser clippers, they're not hard enough. Lesser clippers, they're not hard enough. The angle is too high. They're not polished. They're not particularly sharp.
Man,
Nothing lasts for.
My nail clippers are fine. Do I need to get an ad blocker? I think I do. Because I notice when other people stream, they never get ads.
People always seem to forget that. Where there once was a purpose, now isn't anymore. People get cocky, arrogant, and start abusing their power just because they can.
Honestly, if you guys want to look in my eyes, you guys want to do something? You guys, that's what I thought. No, that's what I thought.
In a figurative sense, this is the point where the victim,
As you're sitting there drinking, what was that, a lemon drop martini?
becomes the bully, perpetuating the cycle of abuse that was responsible for the start of the movement in the first place.
I have to come to the conclusion that inherently, I Show Speed is just a piece of shit. I don't see any way someone like
That guy sucks. I don't know if you know him. Just bad takes all around.
can turn around and redeem themselves and be able to make up for.
He's the example of cancel culture, yeah. And we are built on free speech, so I think cancel culture is the exact opposite of what we should be doing.
Disgusting shit that they've done and said and influenced for people.
As a guy with a platform, I can't imagine posting anything like that.
Bankrupt them, put them out of business, deplatform them, like actually take them out financially.
They feel untouchable and unbeatable, convinced that their run will last forever.
I want nothing to do with you, and I won't think twice about it, because you're not worth keeping around.
This exact moment marks the beginning of the end.
Did you notice how they all had very high-pitched voices and no facial hair, sunken in eyes, doe eyes, prey eyes, weak facial structure, most chubby or way too skinny or fat, receding hairline on this guy right here that has a mad receding hairline. And I'm really not trying to judge, but I'm just explaining that, like, this is the group of people that did the cancel culture.
I want nothing to do with you, and I won't think twice about it, because you're not worth keeping around.
This exact moment marks the beginning of the end.
And now, we take a short break from our program to learn the art of performative progressivism. Brought to you by Mint Mobile.
Welcome to today's video clip, how to be a performative good guy. You want status, you want reputation, and you want status. Okay, so for this strat, you're gonna need 3 things, okay? Twitter account, one of these glasses, and these are very important, okay? Specifically this shape. It has to be this shape. It has
Bro doesn't know what an oval is.
this shape. These glasses say you're harmless, you care about women, and you care about social activism. The very important step for this. Okay? These glasses tell.
It low-key sucks, bro, because I honestly, you know, I don't wear glasses, but like, I always thought oval glasses were kind of cool, you know? I don't think I ever owned a pair, but like, I just thought they were cool. You know, it's like, instead of some basic glasses, you know, it's got some character to it, right? But he makes a good point here.
Well, you're an intellectual. All that's left now is the 3rd step, which is getting an internet connection. Now, you're gonna wanna get yourself a Mint Mobile plan because they sponsor this video. Now remember, we're only gonna do this while it's cool and trendy. So even though you save money on the longer plans, all we really need is the 3-month one. You're the star here, okay? This is all about you. Mint Mobile runs on the largest.
He makes a really great point there. Actually, I'm really impressed with this guy's video. The ability to say a message, well, by showing instead of telling, or because like you said, this is all about you. The way that they, you know, that you take cultural events, like whether it was the riots or pretty much anything that happened, Me Too, anything. Me Too is about women who were, you know, taken advantage of, and they make it about themselves, performing. That was probably the biggest problem with that whole era. It was disgusting. I mean, how you're performing to get more popular, and you probably don't even really believe what you're saying in the first place.
Network in the country. So no matter where you go, marginalized voices can sleep well knowing that you will be there to protect them. Don't worry, okay? Mint Mobile makes switching super easy. You can do it all in a couple of minutes.
Okay, this is still an ad, but see, this is a good ad too. It makes you want to watch. You don't know if you're gonna miss something in the video because it's kind of a part of it too.
Your contacts, your phone number, everything. Click the link below and get yourself one of their premium wireless plans. The data options are 50%.
You ready? 3, 2. I think it worked.
Wait a second. Guys, was that an Ozempic ad? I wish I could go back to it. I think that was an Ozempic ad, or some sort of, it said lose 24 pounds in 24 months, and they shot something into their arm, and it was like a pad, and it stuck in there. Whatever. That was just, dude. Even if you look at the advertisements, like this year in particular, or well, technically last year because it's New Year now, but like the advertisement, the quality has gone down. It's a lot of AI now and slop, and if it's not, it's like, really, I would, bless you, I would blame the TikTok and Instagram and the short form content, because now most ads are an influencer or just someone pretending to be an influencer and look at this product, da 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 da, I'm gonna try it out, da 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 da, and it's just cheap. You know, I mean, commercials are still commercial and stupid, but at least they used to try. You know what I mean? Oops. Caught that one early. That's good. Back on.
This
This is where we are, canceling food. Last week they canceled Uncle Ben's rice. No beans, no rice. Trump doesn't even need to build a wall.
We're now beginning week 2 of the left's all-out attack on Joe Rogan.
The liberal mobs.
And if you saw the clips that Joe Rogan has, that just from what's been on the YouTube video so far, I don't know if you guys know, it's a pretty easy formula. Joe Rogan talks about world events, and he usually finds something positive to say about it, no matter if it's left or right. I would say Joe Rogan's very libertarian centrist, and he'll be like the BLM and stuff. He was like, it's just amazing how they're able to protest. I don't remember anything like this in my life, but they're still gonna try to cancel him for probably what was it? It was his old stand-up, right? What was it? I'm sure he'll bring it up. If not, we'll look it up. Let's look it up again. Why was Joe Rogan canceled? Why was Joe Rogan canceled? Why was Joe Rogan getting canceled? Oh, from COVID. He faced significant public pressure and cancellation attempts primarily for 2 reasons in early 2022: spreading COVID-19 misinformation and past use of racially insensitive language, so his old stand-up. So no one was safe, and what I'm saying, this is what I mean by they took it too far. I mean, Joe Rogan said some things in an old stand-up, making, stand-up jokes, like trying to make people laugh. I mean, he didn't say anything hateful, racially insensitive. And I'm disappointed in the AI here because it says he actually was spreading misinformation. Let's read into it. A major source of controversy. Can you guys see this? Yeah. A major source of controversy stemmed from guests he hosted on the Joe Rogan Experience who expressed views on the COVID-19 pandemic and vaccines that contradicted mainstream medical consensus. So it wasn't even his opinions either. It was guests. Rogan hosted individuals like Dr. Robert Malone and Dr. Peter McCullough, who shared opinions about the virus and treatments such as ivermectin, which Rogan also used and defended after contracting COVID-19, that were widely criticized by the scientific and medical communities as misinformation. In response to the spread of this content on Spotify, this is the funniest thing, musicians including Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, and India Ari removed their music from the platform, demanding Spotify take action against Rogan. Spotify declined to remove the podcast, but added a content advisory to all episodes discussing COVID, directing listeners to a dedicated information hub. Second, Rogan said the N-word once. The video rapidly cut between clips and was taken out of context, showed Rogan using the racial slur. Regretful and shameful, he issued an apology, but also stated the clips were a political hit job and he had used the word in context of a conversation, not as a slur directed at an individual. Yeah. Just, But yeah, I'm disappointed in the AI because it's saying that he spread COVID-19 misinformation, which is not true. Ivermectin is a good cure or treatment for COVID, and he also, I guess he spread the information by having those people on, but that's what he does. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to interview people. So that was I think that was kind of the breaking point for cancel culture, because after Rogan didn't get banned off of Spotify, I think everybody just stopped. No one gave a fuck anymore, That's my perspective, at least.
Euphoria star Sydney Sweeney calling her racist after she posted photos from her mom's 60th birthday party.
As we started getting deeper into the 20s, the dominance of wokeness in the mainstream and the aggressive tactics it used in...
Do you want me to turn the chili off?
Well, it's just simmering, so,
Okay, just leave it on? I just stirred it.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Its detractors.
Huh? Didn't say anything? Okay, I love you.
Sparked massive outrage on the other side of the political aisle. There was a growing rage from those who felt left out and ironically oppressed in popular culture. Zuckerberg became a red pill frat bro at 40 years old. Elon Musk buying X and making it a safe haven.
Let's rewind.
As we started getting deeper into the 20s, the dominance of wokeness in the mainstream and the aggressive tactics it used in eliminating its detractors sparked massive outrage on the other side of the political aisle. There was a growing rage from those who felt left out and ironically oppressed in popular culture. Zuckerberg became a red pill frat bro at 40 years old. Elon Musk buying X and making it a safe haven for the ostracized and the canceled.
Like wokeness basically wants to make comedy.
First of all, that's herpes on his lip. So Elon Musk has herpes. I guess it's possible it's a pimple, but that looks like herpes. So that's interesting. But also, God, that totally threw me off. I was going to say something and looking at his lip. Just look at it. Let's rewind.
Became a red pill frat bro at 40 years old. Elon Musk buying X and making it a safe haven for the ostracized and the canceled.
Like wokeness basically.
Oh yeah, making it a safe haven for the ostracized and the canceled. But Elon's banned plenty of people that he disagree with, or just like it's not a safe haven for ostracized. It's just a safe haven for people that agree with him.
Make comedy illegal. Which is not cool.
Podcasts become the home of anti-wokeness, with most comedians pulling in millions of views while professing their hate for the social justice movement. Along with them, their audience started rapidly moving in the opposite direction. They too would be
Sneeko and Tate.
canceled and deplatformed, but the sentiment still didn't go away. Woke culture now had an enemy, which was climbing rapidly up the ranks. Things slowly start to get ugly as Stage 4 unravels.
I really think this is Drake's lowest point yet in terms of level of effort. He really put almost nothing into this record.
People get fat, washed up, and lazy, completely losing their ability to stick together.
Damn, Young Thug is fat in that. What? He's chubby.
Innovate
Got some
or
titties.
adapt to any new obstacles. At this point, the movement becomes so normalized in the mainstream that it loses its ability to challenge. The once fresh and lively cultural movement is reduced to a cheap trend.
Oh, Young Thug. It was a video of Young Thug. He had some titties on him. What? He got chubby. I don't know.
Like right now?
No, it was like a couple years ago.
To be worn rather than a piece of resistance that demands reflection and action. The social justice movement went from rallying people towards a common goal to pointless exercises of power over celebrities and athletes who didn't pass the moral purity test. The moral standards would only go higher and higher as time went by, until even the people inside the movement couldn't live up to them anymore.
Yeah, did you guys notice that at the end of the woke era, before it kind of like totally disappeared? Yeah, that's a great point. I totally forgot about that. These influencers that were creating the cancel culture couldn't live up to the cancel culture themselves, and they were getting canceled. It's like it was eating, the whole movement was eating itself.
Point, the focus turned inward, and the progressive sphere started devouring itself from the inside out.
We have got to the point.
Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. I gotta get an ad blocker. Stay with me, please. I didn't realize that you're supposed to have an ad blocker. It makes a lot of sense, though. 2023.
I really got the Joe Biden piñatas on deck.
People moved past COVID like it never happened and went right back outside. Y2K aesthetic dominates everything. Baggy pants are back in style. It's a new day where virality is more important than ever. Streamers have become the new celebrities. Diego's DEFCON 3.
You can't say out loud that this person ever did anything good, and I'm done with that.
Barbenheimer. Hip-hop is rapidly falling off both in quality.
I gotta say, I didn't see the Barbie movie. I did see Oppenheimer. But I thought Barbenheimer was a cool cultural thing. Like, that's one thing that was, everybody went out to the theaters and like there was community involved. You went with a group, you discussed the movie or movies if you watched both of them, you know. I think that was something that was pretty cool culturally.
In popularity.
God,
nobody knows what to do. How do you stop Stage 4 from happening? Well, the answer is simple. You don't. There's really only one thing you can do at this point. Speed up the inevitable. For most rap fans, Kendrick Lamar was always everything Drake couldn't be. He was hailed as hip-hop's golden child right at the start of his mainstream run, quickly becoming the critic and fan favorite.
This is good hip-hop. This is positive hip-hop. This is the kind of hip-hop that we need, that's commenting on social issues.
It was the one section of the audience Drake could never win over, despite trying his hardest. See, unlike Aubrey, Kendrick's main strength wasn't getting...
So is this video's climax going to be about Kendrick Lamar and Drake? Because I'm not going to lie. I mean, culturally it is pretty significant, I guess, but that's a little disappointing. Well, there's 10 minutes left. We'll see what happens.
The radio. It was creating meticulous masterpieces, timeless bodies of work which set him apart from the rest of the rap game. He was the one people counted on to lead hip-hop into a brighter tomorrow. Even as the SoundCloud wave hit and melodic trap took over, he adapted, wrestling with Drake for the throne of hip-hop well into the 2010s. But then he disappeared, and that allowed Drake to take the reins and lead the way as hip-hop's #1. Fast forward to 2023 and Drake is scoring his 14th #1 album while the genre is in a free fall, deteriorating into a dark pit of pathetic gimmicks and desperate trend chasers. Fans were increasingly unhappy, but the mainstream was still eating it up. Truthfully, this
is that Timothy Chalamet?
Climate suited Drake. As the biggest rapper in the world and a notorious trend chaser himself, he stood only to gain from the lack of quality and depth the average listener had become accustomed to. Things couldn't go on this way. Something had to be done, and the Golden Child knew exactly what that was.
The king is back! Oh shit! He's rapping!
Motherfuck the big three. Nigga, it's just big me.
Dude, people were going crazy for this shit, dude. Even, I'm not gonna lie, even I would, that first one, I'm forgetting the name of it now, but, he made like 3 different songs dissing Drake, right? Kendrick, Drake, diss tracks. So it's Euphoria, 616 in LA, Meet the Grams, They Not Like Us. Yeah. They Not Like Us. They Not Like Us. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Not Like Us got old really quick, but like, I gotta say, I think Drake did win the beef, you know. But I mean, whoa, Freudian slip. I don't know what that was. I think Kendrick won the beef. I think Kendrick called him out, and Drake did the same exact shit. Regardless, it was stupid either way. But that was just so funny watching all these people react to it, because people were selling their left nut. I don't know, that didn't work, but they were selling their left nut to see this. It was freaking like crazy. Let's watch that one more time.
Oh shit! He's rapping!
Motherfuck the big three. Nigga, it's just big me.
Bow.
Seriously, Kendrick?
It's a lot of goofies with a check.
Kendrick's the best. Kendrick's the best rapper. Kendrick is I've always said Kendrick's my favorite.
Bully, I hate bullies. You must be a terrible person. Everyone inside your team is whispering that you deserve it.
I'm literally uploading Drake's diss right now. How do you have a response up before this even uploaded? Kendrick, relax!
Hey, he going crazy.
Kendrick,
right now.
chill!
And we gotta raise our daughters knowing there's predators like him lurking. Fuck that.
Wait, I can't take this. It's just too much.
Why believe you? You never gave us.
People were really hung up on this beef for like half a year, I think, or maybe even more than a year. How long did it last? How long did the Kendrick Drake beef last? Beef duration. Well, simmered for over a decade, whatever. Exploded into direct, intense exchange of diss track over 16 days. And how long was, like, Not Like Us #1? But, yeah, it kind of got... It got ruined for me before that, but it really got ruined to me when there's this white dude at the Super Bowl, and, I mean, I don't know if he was gay or not. He seemed kind of gay. That's not what ruined it, but he's singing, Not Like Us at the Super Bowl, and, showing it, and he's like, they not like us, they not like us, they not like us. And it's a meme, but like he was being serious, you know what I mean? And it's just like, damn. Several weeks, historic 53 weeks charting on the Hot 100. So like 53 weeks, which is pretty much a year. Yeah, pretty much a year. People were bumping Not Like Us, enough for it to be on the top 100, which is kind of crazy. Damn. Yeah, what a crazy time. For over a year, people were worried about two dudes that rap beefing.
Into believing, cause you lied about religious views, you lied about your surgery.
A rebellion, an uprising led to one of the biggest cultural events of the 2020s.
Drake, I hear you like I'm young. You better not ever go to Cell Block 1.
A rap battle in which Kendrick Lamar destroyed Drake, slaying the flag bearer of late-stage commercial trap, and finally saying what the culture was feeling out loud. Enough with the hollow, lazy, and unoriginal. We need music that's creative, deep, and inspired. Everybody had their fun, but now the party is over, and it's time for something real.
Counter movement.
If you say you're voting for Trump, suddenly you're a Nazi, you're Hitler, you're garbage. Enough. Enough.
They just want no Trump, no matter what. And
I don't like how I forgot his last name, but Dave from Barstool, I don't like how he's the first guy he brings up from the counter movement, because y'all can have him. We might get into that, but just disregard that for now.
Gaslight themselves.
Hey, so remember all those anti-woke guys from earlier in the video? Yeah, they didn't go away. As a matter of fact, they only multiplied and grew stronger as the public sentiment shifted further and further away from social progressivism. It wasn't just a fleeting feeling. It was a burning hatred towards the status quo that required drastic change. A fire had been started, and no one was putting it out.
It is now official. CNN projects that Donald Trump has been elected president, defeating Vice President Kamala Harris and making a political comeback unlike any.
47th president of the United States.
The former president's comeback.
I am going to admit I am a little surprised that they...
It kind of sucks because from a perspective, if you don't know anything, but you just remember in 2016 things were pretty good, and 2020 through 2024 things got bad, and so you would oh well, maybe we should elect the guy that was there in 2016 to 2020, right? But first of all, it's not the same Trump. A lot of stuff has happened. He used to not be bought anyone. Literally in his first campaign, he's like, no one tells me what to do. I'm one of the richest people. No one tells me what to do. No one gives me money to do stuff. And now, you go to track AIPAC, he takes $250 to $300 million from Israel, plus his entire administration took it, plus, everyone he supports, it's that we're supposed to get into that too. There's another video coming up. I don't know if we're going to have time, but yeah, everyone thought that this was going to be the solution besides the wokies, and unfortunately, both sides were wrong. Because he's a part of the elites too, and that's the problem. It's the people versus the elites, not a left versus right thing, and that's why the division has to stop. So he's portraying this as the counter movement is the left wokies versus the right Trumpies, right? But in reality, if you're a hardcore Trumpy or a hardcore wokie, you're part of the problem. We all believe the same. We're the same people, and we can work together and create actually good times for everyone, but instead we're too focused on, you didn't vote Republican or vote Democrat. It's just, misled, but let's continue.
So much.
It was finally official. We were now in
stage 5.
How long it takes a beginner like my dad to go from...
What's up with this Tai Chi shit?
Here we are.
Do y'all know what Tai Chi workouts are? Do y'all mind if I look it up real quick? Let's see, what is Tai Chi? That's like the third ad tonight. What is Tai Chi? Chinese mind-body exercise combining slow, graceful movements, deep breathing, and meditation. Originating as I thought it was like a martial art, but it's now widely practiced for health, stress. Okay, so yeah.
It was just announced that for the first time in 35 years, hip-hop spent an entire week without a single song in the top 40 of the...
Whoa, there are no hip-hop songs in the U.S. top 40 for the first time since 1990. 25 years? That's kind of crazy. Wait. 35 years. Damn.
The biggest trap releases of the year have all flopped diabolically, and even the average Joes are bored at this point.
Rap is cool and all, but it's getting outplayed, bro. They talk about hoes, money.
It's the same topics like every single
17
time.
bodies last night, them all in the head. Ain't nobody catch. Okay, I hope you get caught soon.
Yeah, it's either glorifying murder or being promiscuous or drug use. It's unfortunately, I mean, it can be a beautiful genre, and I honestly, you gotta blame the mumble rappers like Lil Pump, and even though I like Young Thug, Drake's part of the problem, especially with the promiscuity type deal, and it's on both sides. It's women being whores, and it's also men being whores. You know, it's both sides of just overall degeneracy, and that's what this genre has come to. Because the trap, it got the clicks, and then, you know, they try to keep doing the same thing, or they try to make it bigger and better and worse, and, you know, you got Glorilla and Ice Spice running around, and you got Drake and Drake, really. Mostly just Drake, but people like Drake and everyone that he has under him. Oh, and also Lil Durk and King Von, straight up demons murdering, like murder, you know, especially King Von. And so like that's kind of where we're at with rap, you know, and it's a big problem.
We know that your body's tea. We know that you have good poom poom. We know that you
stop playing rap for the most part, and honestly, I've come to realize it's probably the worst genre there is. Like
Stage 5 is where the movement becomes culturally irrelevant and a complete non-factor in the mainstream.
Oh, and also like rap is also a lot about like, you know, you'll hear you know, we pass women around. That's G shit, and like, and I've always thought that was weird. That's cuck shit. You pass your women around. That's weird, dude. And like, promoting just the most backwards ideologies, but because they're all rapping it and saying it, and you know, you want to sing along to the song, it kind of becomes ingrained into your brain. Like, this is how things are supposed to be. Like, yeah, women ain't shit. Let's pass them around. Who cares? Or, you know, there's simp rap too, which is just as bad. I mean, can we not just have normal relationships, like normal loving relationships? You know, music, like, it's not the only industry, but the music industry is one of the big perpetrators of destroying relationships between men and women, just like making us misunderstand each other, and just overall, just it's not good for us.
Those from the movement may still try to recapture an old flame, a moment that got lost in time, but the people have already moved on.
Oh yeah, Young Thug's album sucked. I didn't even hear all of it, so I can't say it totally sucked, but I listened to like one or two songs and they were terrible. It was just a one-time, like that trap era. It was just, you know, I mean, it was cool while it lasted, but it got old. You know, it's not real art.
The old moves don't work anymore. The shots aren't.
It's not art. It's hype. It was all about hype and energy, but they weren't putting like their heart and soul into it. You know, it wasn't art.
And the crowd is as quiet as a church mouse. The power has been completely stripped from its previous holders and put into the hands of people who were made to feel silenced, mocked, and left out before. The culture is theirs to shape now.
The liberal mob's lashing out at Euphoria star Sydney Sweeney, calling her racist after she posted photos from her mom's 60th birthday party.
My jeans are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has great jeans.
White people shouldn't joke about genetic superiority. Since you are talking about this, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that specifically.
I think that when I have an issue that I want to speak about, people will hear.
Miss Tan, genetics.
I just got my color analysis back.
There is a cultural shift happening in the US. We're seeing a move away, even in these commercials that are so typically woke.
The Zeitgeist showed it wasn't cool to be progressive or liberal.
When you're walking, I'm surprised they're showing Fuentes on here.
Street light at night, guess what you're looking for? Black people. And you equate that with danger.
Another human I would just deport immediately.
We are just so unbelievably fed up with the ghetto ratchet behavior, entitlement, the victimhood.
Platforms no longer care about political correctness. Corporations no longer celebrate Pride Month.
Google, no change. IBM, no change. Microsoft, no change.
Or any month, for that matter. It's like they never cared about anything. Wow. Interesting.
Even Starbucks roached out on the gays?
Country is taken over as the most popular genre of music.
You have been the light of the day. You are such a gift.
You brought such light.
Look around.
Did country really become the #1? I mean, to be fair, it's not real country either. It's basically just pop, you know, but I didn't know that. It went far.
Everything is a byproduct of what came before it. The overbearing need for social responsibility and pure morals of years past has now been replaced by a culture ready to eat up whatever seems authentic, no matter how shitty at its core. When something feels too clean, people crave mess. When everything's ironic, sincerity starts to look rebellious. Every era gives us ideas and moments that change the world as we know it. Then, we move on. The social justice movement didn't vanish, it dissolved. It was absorbed into the culture. The language changed, the expectations changed, and the boundaries moved. And once that happens, it stops feeling...
You see that video of Jerry Jones sitting there, look at me, look at me. Look at that, look at his face.
It dissolved, it was absorbed
look at
into
me,
the culture.
look at me,
The
look what I'm doing.
Changed, the expectation...
That right there is performative. He did it because he felt the pressure to make the woke mob happy, you know?
Changed and the boundaries moved. And once that happens, it stops feeling like a movement at all and just becomes the new normal. The past decade of hip-hop has been liberating. The genre doesn't take itself nearly as seriously anymore. The gender norms have been broken, and artists are free to bend their voices, their images, and their identities however they want. The demand for change has been met. The movement has served its purpose. Death is inevitable. Death is healthy. Nothing, no sound, no movement, no era can or should stay mainstream forever. Now that the people have made their money and the vultures have moved on, it's time for a reset. It's time to go back underground and come up with something new. The Kendrick-Drake beef wasn't just a rap moment. It was a reminder. Culture changes when someone chooses to change it. When people stand up and decide the old rules don't apply anymore. Every era ends the same way, with a spark, a fracture, a moment no one saw coming. And maybe, just maybe, we're closer to that moment than we think. But you want to see these?
No, I don't. Thank you though, bro. It was a great video. I don't think we should be too focused on culture, and although this video was entirely about culture, I think it was helpful, but I think it's important that we focus more on, it's important to be aware of cultural trends, but it shouldn't be what we focus on. Culture's important, but it's not priority. What's priority is Gen Z's radicalization. This video is by Cole Hastings. He's a known self-improvement YouTuber, kind of like Hamza, people like that, just self-improvement, you know. Yeah. So let's watch it.
On the surface, Gen Z looks just like any other generation before them, sort of. But beneath their external appearances are some of the most extreme ideologies the world has ever seen. Take a look at this guy. He goes by the name Clavicular online. Seems like a normal dude, right? But if you watch even...
Looksmaxer, Clavicular. Apparently he does like bone shattering, where he like hits his jaw with, or hits his cheekbones and jaw with like a little muscle to make many fractures and make it shape back better. I don't know. He's a strange guy. I've never really heard of him until just recently.
30 seconds of one of his videos.
Which is weird, because like I do know about looksmaxing and mewing and stuff, and like, you know, it's just funny.
He will start using words that, to maybe 80% of people who speak English, seem completely made up.
So we take a look and we've got a lot of rosacea, just showing you a basic
way to improve by 1 to 2 PSL, because these two things, these two softmaxes can go a long way. You know, with the lack of facial angularity, it's causing me to have...
But see, I mean, to be fair, you can see that it does work. That's what he used to look like, which is still, I mean, good looking dude, you know, no big deal. That's what he looks like now, right? And little face puffiness, and so like there are certain things you can do to like achieve what you consider better looking, or, you know, looks maxing. So, I mean, what he's saying isn't untrue.
An overly wide perceived facial width to height ratio.
Clavicular is part of a group of people called looksmaxers who first spawned on internet forums. Looksmaxers are obsessed with doing anything and everything they can.
What I guess clavicular created the term looks maxing, which is kind of cool, I guess. I never knew where it came from.
Maximize what they call their PSL and SMV, their personal look scale and sexual market value, respectively. They believe that the only thing that determines basically all areas of success in your life is your looks, and to not obsess over your looks is doing yourself a massive disservice.
Do you value hard work at all?
No. Absolutely not. I value efficient work. I value smart work. Hard work is a ridiculous concept.
In order to optimize his looks maxing, Clavicular has been injecting testosterone since the age of 14, and he plans on flying to Turkey soon for a double job.
Okay, well, see, that right there, that I would say that disregards everything he says. He's injecting testosterone. He's doing steroids. And on top of that, even if it's not like massive amounts like a bodybuilder does, when you inject or take testosterone, it ruins your body's ability to produce testosterone. Isn't that like the least manliest thing of all? This honestly kind of ruined him for me. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I wasn't gonna be a fan, but I was like, oh, that's cool, I guess. But yeah, you can't be injecting test, bro. Like, you're supposed to, like, looks maxing is supposed to be about naturally increasing test and doing things naturally. Injecting testosterone is not natural. That's so not cool. Kind of misleading a bunch of people too, you know, thinking they can do it. Which, you know, you can just in other ways, but you're actually just injecting testosterone. Do you tell people? Yeah, whatever.
According to online sources, he's only 19 years old, and yet he has adopted what I think most people would consider a very radicalized view of the world. Subgroups of different extremist ideologies like looks maxing are not uncommon these days. Now we have groypers, a term used to identify followers or fans of white nationalist and live streamer Nick Fuentes. On the left side we have Antifa, or anarcho-communists, or tankies glorifying authoritarian...
The groypers and Fuentes are actually getting mentioned in today's day and age, which is so weird. I had never even heard about this guy until I think last year at some point I heard of him, and it's so weird how that guy, I mean, the groypers are a pretty big group of people. They, you know, his fan base, they went and like they'd go to Ben Shapiro or Charlie Kirk's events and like talk, you know, like basically storm them, not like violent, but like ask questions and just, you know, groyper was here or whatever, and it was very hush-hush. No one would ever talk about it. And now it seems like it's starting to get some traction, which is weird.
Communist regimes. We have black pillars holding similar beliefs to looks maxers in regards to the fact that the only thing that matters is looks, while extending their beliefs outside of the looks realm to an all-encompassing doomeristic view of the world. We have hyper-masculine traditionalists and tradwives who think we should repeal the 19th Amendment, and hyper-feminists who think men are the source of all evil. When you scroll through the trenches of social media, Reddit, or underground internet forums, your first instinct might be to ask, how could anyone seriously think like this? But if you understood the world much of Gen Z inhabits, and how that world compares to the history of past generations of radicalized youth, this would not surprise you at all. So today, I want to talk a little bit about that history. I want to explain to you why the...
Look at me looks maxing right there. I'm worried about how my hair looks. I just caught myself. That's funny. It was in my face, though. It wasn't because I care about what it looks like.
Have always radicalized during moments like these, how that radicalization has adapted to the internet era and offer a way toward maybe, just maybe, not necessarily compassion, but at the very least understanding. And then we can talk about what it would actually take to pull ourselves out of this.
On January 1st, we're starting AI challenge for people over 30. Disappear from social media and do this instead.
In order to understand Gen Z's radicalization, we need to look at its contributing...
And also, I do gotta say, that was a lie. I have heard of Nick Fuentes before this last year. I just I never knew how popular he really was because he was banned off of everything. So I heard him and knew about him probably since like 2023. Just so, I mean, I want to be 100% truthful with you guys.
It's not enough to just throw up our hands and say, wow, these people are so out of touch and stupid, as true as that might seem in some cases. We need to ask, what kind of world produces young people who think this way? Switching the framing like that can provide us with a perspective that might help cool our anger towards these groups' harmful or hateful beliefs, while allowing us to observe historical trends that answer the question I just posed. Historically, young people are more prone to radicalization when certain conditions are met, and the conditions I want to focus on in this video are economic instability and declining optimism, adults and institutions failing to provide stable meaning and a sense of generational betrayal, and massive technological shifts. And if it isn't obvious to you already, all of these kind of work in tandem. One affects the other, and so forth and so forth. So let's go over the first point, economic instability and declining optimism, using a time where mass radicalization of the youth reached a somewhat similar popularity as it has today, post-World War I Germany. Germany came out of the war defeated and humiliated, sending the economy into full hyperinflation. By 1923, the monthly inflation rate peaked around 29,500%, meaning—
Well, I do gotta say, as a history buff, I wouldn't say that's an accurate description. World War I, Germany was defeated, and all the gold stores were taken for reparations, and they had nothing. And then the Weimar Republic was instituted. Not sure how much I can say on YouTube, but basically the Weimar Republic was instated, and there were the elites that would drive around and basically just whatever, and then there were the poor, and the children would play with money because it didn't mean anything. And like it said here, value of 1 gold mark in paper marks, what is that, billion or trillion? 1 trillion. Right? Million, 10 million, 100 million. Whoa. Oh, yeah, trillion. So one gold mark was 1 trillion pieces of paper, right? And like our dollar, how many dollars is gold worth? It's like 5,000 or something. How much is gold worth USD? So per ounce, 4,000, roughly 4,300, right? And per gram, 140. Way less than 1 trillion. And even for an entire kilogram, that's $140,000. So that's pieces of paper, you know what I mean? So you kind of see how bad things really got. And also one thing just to note is it's not like World War I Germany was evil. They actually called for peace multiple times. And this is World War I, not World War II. But yeah, it's just, I don't think that was the best description. But we can also do a stream about that someday and really get into the history.
Prices were doubling every few days. $1, which cost 50 marks in 1920, was suddenly worth 4.2 trillion marks by November 1923. Middle-class savings, pensions, and long-term wages were basically November 1920. 50 marks in 1920. Meaning prices were doubling every few days. $1, which cost 50 marks in 1920.
$1 cost 50 marks in 1920, and mark is the German dollar.
Suddenly worth 4.2 trillion marks by
$1 worth 4.2 trillion marks. So for our one piece of paper, they had to have 4.2 trillion of those, and that's why there was children in the streets playing with money, because it didn't mean anything. It was literally meaningless paper, and you couldn't buy anything. A loaf of bread was like 3 million marks or something crazy. Like, people would get paid with a suitcase full of money. Like, their paycheck would be a suitcase full of paper, and they'd have to rush to the store, and they'd be able to buy maybe a loaf of bread. It was crazy times. It really was.
1923. Middle-class savings, pensions, and long-term wages were basically erased, and if you're young people watching your parents' finances vanish overnight, the message is pretty clear. The system doesn't work, and the adults in charge have no idea what they're doing. Hyperinflation got tamed by 1924, but the damage—
Right there, playing with $1 by November 1923 was worth 4.2 trillion marks. Wow.
trust was done. Then, the Great Depression hit. Industrial output fell by roughly 30%, and by 1932, around 6.1 million Germans were...
Just notice, though, that the Great Depression wasn't what caused it at all. As you could see, it was still massive inflation, economic free fall. The Great Depression, I might get into it, we'll see.
Unemployed, about 1/3 of the working age population. Historians writing about this period talk about a, quote, lost generation of jobless youth whose entire entry into adult life was barricaded.
Not to mention, throughout this time, post-World War I Germany had the highest prostitution, child prostitution, just overall degeneracy, and just an awful place to live. Cannibalism too, pretty sure. I don't want to give you facts that aren't facts. Cannibalism in Weimar Republic. Let's see. Widespread, culturally accepted cannibalism wasn't a feature, but okay, so serial killers who cannibalize their victims. So forget cannibalism, but serial killers, common, Weimar Republic, just overall moral decay, social anxieties. So yeah, that's what they were dealing with at that time.
Being young in 1930s Germany often meant no job, no prospects, and no clear place in society. Does that sound familiar? Now let's talk about how this funneled young people into extremist thinking. In this context, radical political groups became one of the only places offering a story that made sense out of the chaos and a path to feeling useful and important. On the far right, the Nazi Party and its orbit leaned hard into youth recruitment. After the crash, Nazi electoral support exploded from about 2% of the vote in 1928 to 38% by mid-1932, making them the largest party in the Reichstag. Paramilitary groups like the SA and earlier Freikorps units, often made up of men in their 20s, gave disoriented young guys uniforms, camaraderie, and a sense of political purpose. But the clearest example of this youth funnel is the Hitler Youth.
Once again, I'm sorry about the ads, guys. I will download an
Membership was
soon.
relatively modest at the end of 1932, about 108,000 boys. But after the Nazis took power and started suppressing rival youth organizations, membership skyrocketed to 2.3 million by 1933 and around 3.6 million by 1934, and kept climbing in the later 1930s. It's important to note that people don't necessarily adopt extremist racist ideologies simply because of economic instability, but if there's some part of that embedded already within the culture, and then a strong enough, confident enough political leader produces enough propaganda to convince you that your problems will be solved if you attach yourself to these racist ideologies, that's when it really starts to sprout. On the far left, there was...
Germany was the only country during the Great Depression that, in the beginning they were affected, but Germany was the only country that got out of the Great Depression because they stopped being influenced by the banks and they created their own mark based off of labor. That's what National Socialism was all about. It's trying to the best for your people. That's the nationalism part. And then the socialism part is like giving loans and stuff, and it wasn't, I wouldn't say, I don't think people joined the Hitler Youth because they were racist or because, I don't think that's what did it. I think it was the other things that made a lot of sense. So this is something to think about. This is a biased point of view.
Of a similar story, the Young Communist League of Germany, the youth wing of the Communist Party, grew into a dedicated militant organization whose membership peaked in the tens of thousands by the last years of the Weimar Republic. So you have one set of youth channeling their anger into nationalist extremism and racial hierarchy, while another channeled it into revolutionary extremism and class war. But both sides are reacting to a structural reality where their future was stripped away from them, and in that reality, extremist organizations...
But one thing I will say is he is right in the fact of when the economy is wrong, whenever people can't afford to live, there's crime and just the government's corrupt, you see obvious corruption. That's why we do have a bunch of extremists like, Antifa, or I don't really think you should put Groypers in the same boat as Antifa because Antifa's violent. But regardless, you have a bunch of different extremists, right?
promise three things that normal institutions can no longer promise, which is certainty, belonging, and a future. Without thinking too hard, you can clearly see how much of this mirrors the material conditions and cultural narratives happening in the West today. The unemployment rate for Americans between 20 and 24 just hit a 10-year high, excluding the pandemic. And for the first time in the last 40 years or so, the unemployment rate for recent college graduates aged 22 to 27 is higher than the unemployment rate for all workers. While renting prices have cooled down significantly, the general cost of living has not. Any Gen Zer can tell you
there is a serious crisis with employment. It's hard to find a job, and it's multiple reasons, but H-1B visas are part of it. A lot of jobs are going to people with H-1B visas. And one thing I learned about H-1B visas that I didn't know is, so H-1B is where right now they're usually coming from India or China, but they come from India or China on an H-1B visa because they're going to work for one company. They're going to work for this one company, and what I learned is they're not allowed to leave that company. So it's basically slave labor. They're still getting paid, but they're enslaved to the company in the sense of like you or I or anyone watching this that's not on an H-1B, anyone watching this, if you don't like your company, you can look for another one, and you're not going to be penalized for getting a different job. But someone with an H-1B is a slave to that company. So that's why these companies are going to hire more H-1Bs, because it's automatic loyalty. You know what I mean? They don't even have to treat them well either, because they have to be there, right? And obviously that's messed up. The reality is there shouldn't be H-1B visas at all. There's too many Americans that are unemployed, you know? And obviously some of them, I'm sure it's their fault, you know, being lazy or whatever. But the vast majority want to have a job and can't find one. And that is a giant problem right now. If America wants to continue the way it is without radical change, then that needs to change.
How unaffordable daily life feels now, even with an average job. And of course, the rising cost of education throws them into thousands of dollars of debt before they can even get started. In a system like this, it's no wonder that young people are more susceptible to latching on to extremist ideas, because those ideas, unlike the solutions proposed by people who are more nuanced and sit in the middle of the political spectrum, are vivid and establish a clear enemy, which, to them at least, is much better than having no purpose at all. But I want to expand upon that point a bit further after going into the next condition which usually leads to radicalization in a society. Adults and institutions failing to provide...
Quick lesson, guys. So in my opinion, it's like I said earlier, it's not left versus right, it's us versus them, meaning the people versus the elites, right? Now, Karl Marx and communism, that is the idea, but in execution, you know, they say like it's against the government and all that, but what they do is create a government that, you know, holds all the money, no private property, which is a problem. You know, you got to have private property, especially in America. So communism isn't the answer when I say that. I want you to know that it's not a communist view. What it is saying, so a lot of people see capitalism and communism as total opposites, right? What I say is they're two sides of the same coin. They both have really the same end result, which is people starving, people not being able to live. They're both not a good answer to the system. And that's when you start looking at, that's where things, you know, it's nuanced. There's not just one single answer, right? And without even putting a name on anything, one, private property, need to have private property, a free market, closed borders, and there needs to be no aristocracy or like bourgeoisie or there should be no ruling class. There should be no extremely wealthy people that have more money than they know what to do with, and they don't use it for good either. They use it to further, you know, continue their exploits. That's the problem. And it happens in both capitalism and communism. The difference is capitalism is corporations and communism is the government itself, right? So just remember there are other options too. Those aren't the only two options. That's what they want you to believe. Like capitalism is the majority, like pretty much what the right is, and communism is pretty much what the left is, you know? It's not like that. Don't fall for that, you know? Really, life is nuanced, so we have to be nuanced too. We have to genuinely think about these things. Instead of trying to put a name on something, why don't we just have like a list of like demands, or like what you think needs to happen, right? And if we start discussing ideas more than we discuss ideologies, I think that would really help. Because right now it's all like, first of all, if a capitalist hears you're a communist, they're not going to listen to you at all, and vice versa, you know. And it's just, instead of saying I'm this, I'm that, say I want this, I want that. These are my ideas, not my ideology. This isn't, you want an identity in your political stance, or I'm Republican, I'm Democrat, I'm conservative, I'm liberal. Let's start talking ideas instead of ideologies, and I think 90% of our problems would be solved.
Stable meaning and a sense of generational betrayal. But first, I've been talking extensively on this channel about being chronically offline, and the importance of that is really going to be highlighted in the second half of this video. But one thing that's really helped me with that is e-ink devices, and that's why I'm happy to introduce today's sponsor, the V-Woods AI paper reader. If you aren't familiar, this is an e-ink device that uses a screen called...
just talked about need to be offline. How long is that ad too? What is that? Let's see, 24 to over a minute of my life wasted on some app. Okay.
How the world works came from a few big pillars: your family, school, maybe a church or religious community, and whatever image of the country you got from news, movies, and politics. If they're functioning well, they offer some kind of answer to questions like, what matters, who can I trust, and is the future worth working toward? It's common for the youth to disagree or even rebel against the most common answers to these questions, but they still form a stable backdrop. However, when these institutions start to feel hollow or hypocritical, that backdrop collapses. To see how this played out in the real world and relate it back to today, we can look at the late 1960s and early 1970s in the US and Western Europe.
Hi, I'm JT and I made Result Hunter, the search engine for conservatives. Let me just tell you what it does. First of all, big tech.
In the early 1960s, most Americans still believed the federal government was basically trustworthy. In 1964, about 77% of Americans said they trusted Washington to do what is right just about always or most of the time. Within a decade, after the escalation of the Vietnam War, civil rights clashes, urban riots, and the Watergate scandal, that number had dropped to 36%, and by the end of the 1970s, it was around 25%. In other words, the default assumption went from the people in charge are trying, even if they mess up, to they're probably lying. At the same time, the Vietnam War made that loss of trust feel brutally personal, especially for young people. Between 1964 and 1973, the US military drafted about 2.2 million men out of an eligible pool of 27 million. The people deciding on the war were older, and the people forced to fight in it were overwhelmingly 18 to 26. That age gap is the emotional core of generational betrayal. The older people make these catastrophic decisions, and the younger bodies have to absorb the consequences. Then there's events like what happened at Kent State. On May 4th, 1970, National Guard troops opened fire on students protesting the war at Kent State University in Ohio, killing 4 and wounding 9 more. The shootings triggered a nation.
Sorry about that, guys. Had to use the bathroom.
Student strike that shut down hundreds of colleges and universities. Think about what that does to you as a young person watching that unfold. The institutions are basically saying that they would rather shoot you than listen to you, and whatever moral authority those institutions held.
Talking about protests in the Vietnam War, right? Right? Talking about, yep, dude. I'm not gonna say I'm a genius, but that's cool. I'm glad I got that. But yeah, it was a protest saying stop war, and their response was to shoot people. Martial law. Yeah.
Evaporates. A similar pattern played out in France during May 1968. Student protests against rigid universities led to police crackdowns and street battles in Paris, and within weeks, around 10 million workers joined a general strike, which was the largest in French history. The economy hadn't collapsed like Weimar Germany's, but a whole generation felt locked out by rigid institutions and a political class that refused to make room for them. In both cases, you see the same pattern. Institutions lose legitimacy, younger generations feel increasingly sacrificed or silenced, and more radical movements step in with a satisfying narrative. They say you're not crazy, you're right to feel betrayed, here's who did this to you, and here's how we fight back. Talking about this with a bit of nuance though, and I'm going to highlight this again in the later...
Okay. Am I radical for saying it's us versus them? Because what I see is, like, there are hateful ideologies, which this particular one group of people is the problem. It's not racial. It's class. It's I mean, there's the people. I mean, like 10, the top 10% of wealthy, like the wealthiest of wealthiest Americans, spend 90% of the money. So like our economy is being held up by the elites. We don't have enough money to spend. You know what I mean? Am I extremist for saying the elites are the problem? That is the enemy. That's who is causing all of this. Corporate lobbying and...
Did you feed the animals today?
No. Well, I fed the cats. And Paris had food in her bowl this morning, so thank you. Got some chili here. This is a big spoon. Yeah, I'll eat that in a second. But yeah, guys, I just want to know, am I extremist or not?
Portion of the video, I do think some radical movement.
Oh, and if I am, then that means I don't think extremism should be something to be looked down upon. I think a lot of our situations are very extreme right now in terms of living, buying groceries, surviving, you know, so yeah, just something to think about.
Are necessary, you know, going on protest, for students getting shot, going on this like nationwide meltdown. It's sometimes necessary in order to enact the change that you need, but you know, it is happening in a different sort of flavor here, and that's not necessarily the type of radical movements that I have been trying to criticize throughout this video and that I'm going to continue trying to criticize. These sorts of problems have only been highlighted and exacerbated to the nth degree in modern society. Using our next condition I'm going to go over, the technological shifts we've received over the past couple decades,
See, people like Jeffrey Epstein are the problem, right? And Jeffrey Epstein wasn't the only one. There's a reason why those Epstein files never really got released, and that's because pretty much every single politician, left and right, was on the Epstein files. And don't believe me, they were able to unredact some of them, and what you'll find is quite surprising. On top of that, all the celebrities, just like pedophiles, like craziness, right? And so I don't think it's extremist to say we should get rid of that, personally. Maybe I'm crazy.
Corrupt politician or scandal has been dissected and exposed, leaving little to no room for manipulation. And when you couple that with an increasingly unstable and unpredictable environment, it's no wonder why the youth feels like they were betrayed and the future that they prepared for never came. But by far, what is probably the biggest contributor to radicalization of all types that has undoubtedly affected all of these other conditions is the rise of the internet and smartphones.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
The globalization
I guess I understand what he's saying, but if anything, the internet has actually helped us be more aware of what's going on. And obviously there's going to be more misinformation and confusion because that's just how things go in the age of information. But at least you have the opportunity to learn and to really know what's going on. And independent journalism has skyrocketed, which is great. We want independent journalists. We want people that aren't bought and sold doing our investigative journalism. You know, stuff like that. There's a lot of benefits to this technological rise or whatever. Although in a perfect world, we wouldn't have any of this, any really modernity. I mean, obviously not going back to cavemen, but like, the world probably would be a better place without the internet in general, but that's never going to happen. The internet's here. And the thing is it does help a lot. Independent journalists and people able to form their own opinions, and also to see, you know, it connects you to everyone in the world, and everyone in the world is going to have a different opinion in some way. And so that right there is just helping diversity of opinions. And all in all, we'll see where he goes with this, but I don't think I'm agreeing.
Information allowed us to educate ourselves on so much, but it also made it remarkably easier to fall into echo chambers of misinformation and extremist thinking to help us explain why we feel so lost, empty, hopeless, and displaced. It is not just politicians or people in power who...
So yeah, I get what he's saying there, but I mean, if you're falling into a hole of everyone thinking the same thing, then that's kind of on you. You should I mean, you want to believe something, you know, and it's our duty as people, whether on the internet or off the internet, to do the due diligence and do the research and to see what's really going on, to hear every side, to see the facts, you know.
Do the manipulating now. Anyone with enough confidence and perceived authority can lean into your confirmation bias, convincing you that your struggles are due to some singular life flaw or a certain group of people, when the reality is far more complex. Looks maxing is one of those examples. Often looks maxers align their beliefs highly with the black pill ideology. This is a sphere on the internet who believe that without good looks, you have zero chance of attracting somebody, getting a good job, or achieving basically any amount of success. But the foundations of society set them up for this kind of thinking. Before someone even considers themselves a black pillar, they're usually someone who's having more difficulty with women than they ever would have in previous generations, largely because the dating market has skewed in ways shaped by technology and a lack of stable opportunities. So what do? They go searching for answers online. Confirmation bias pushes them to focus only on what already feels true, which might be the belief that everything comes down to their looks. They start consuming black pill content in a viscerally emotional state, and the experiences within that community mirror their own. Slowly, they seep deeper and deeper into that rabbit hole, and that ideology seeps into everything they do. I can only imagine some version of this happened to that clavicular guy I mentioned at the beginning. Because let's be honest here, if technology and social media didn't push us to focus on the more superficial aspects of humanity, if the economy was stable and people had a...
I gotta say, man, I get where he's coming from, but I disagree. First of all, clavicular is obviously not black pill. Let's look at this guy. Oh, hold on. His name is Wheat Waffles. He's probably the most popular black pillar ever, right? YouTuber. Is this really what Wheat Waffles looks like? Really? Maybe I'm thinking of a different one. Black pill YouTuber face. So yeah, that right there, this is the Hamza guy I was talking to y'all about. He's a lot like this guy we're watching right now, right there on the right. Yeah, so I guess I got it mistaken. I thought Wheat Waffles was the guy. Let me show you. I thought Wheat Waffles was the guy on the right there. But it turns out he's let's go back. He is the gingerish type guy. That guy right there on the right. So he doesn't look that bad either. I think the black pill, if you're having trouble with women really don't care that much about looks. You can be a really ugly dude. It's about confidence. It's about charisma. It's about just being a good person too. You know, there's much that goes into it. And if you are a black pillar, you're kind of the type of, I guess, well, before I say that, because it is extremism, and obviously there should be some guidance or whatever, but I just think, like, you have to be a little unintelligent to be a black pillar, in my opinion. And kind of weak, because, I mean, you're going to give up that easy. You're just going to say, well, that's the way the world works, you know, like, get over it, dude. Like, also, there's much more to life than women, too, like, much more. So, you know, I mean, focus on, like, good stuff. Black pill's gay. Black pill's gay.
Fairly easy time getting a job and a partner, and it wasn't revealed that basically all institutions are lying to us and there's little meaning to extract from any of this. Do you think the thought of, I need to become a Chad Looksmaxer, would have even crossed this guy's mind? Absolutely not. But the conditions of society today create the perfect concoction to produce more radicalized young people.
Well, I will say, though, I need to become a Chad Looksmaxer. If he created the word looksmaxing, then, I mean, I don't know. I think everyone wants to, maybe not everyone, but as a child, like as a boy, you could see, like, imagine yourself, like, not looking like a punk, looking like a man, you know? I mean, it's less about looks maxing and having perfect facial structure, and really just about having a decent level of testosterone and growing a beard and like having muscle, you know? And so like, if that's the looks maxing you're talking about, then I disagree. But yeah, the facial structure, like the hammer thing on the face, that's weird, dude. That's weird. I agree.
Because radicalization gives them something to grasp in a world that feels increasingly nebulous. It also gives them a sense of identity, which is unbelievably important when you're young, and something that social media and
But one thing I do like about the looks maxing is that it also helped out a lot with the health culture and learning that we're being poisoned all the time. And like a big part of looks maxing is having the right diet. You know what I mean? And also, wanting to look your best is the definition of looks maxing. Wanting to look your best. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think that's extremist. I think you want to look your best whenever this Cole guy, I think he wants to look his best whenever he clearly hits the gym. You can see his traps, and you know he does his hair a certain way, and he wants to look his best. You know, I mean, obviously there's extremes to everything, so you can't just label that entire group as extremists, and that goes with every single group he mentioned.
Have broke. And that's another reason why this iteration of society feels so devoid of hope and purpose, even if there might be. At least in the past, if you were going through some shit, you would at least have that friend group or some sort of community, like a religious organization, that you could fall back to that hold the same beliefs as you. But the internet, in all of its individualized, hyperbolized sections, divides humans into extremely specific, unique subcategories that separate you from everyone else in a way that we have never seen before. When we gained access to any and all information, it gave us the ability to shape our beliefs into something uniquely our own. But the consequence was that agreeableness, even when it meant conforming to a group you didn't fully align with, began to erode.
My husband is 57, 264 pounds, and his young trainer tells him he needs to walk 10,000.
The amount of when it meant conforming to a group you didn't fully align.
If you're conforming to a group you don't fully align with, you are a weak man. You shouldn't, I mean, and that's why I think it should be ideas and not ideologies, in my opinion.
Began to erode. The amount of identity subgroups on the internet is insane now. There's gooners, doomer zoomers, e-girls, femcels, sigma males, neo-trad wives, based nationalists, anarcho-primitivists. The list is endless. You might not trust your government, your school, or your parents, but you can trust those guys in your Discord server or subreddit who can understand all the things that you're going through that nobody else can. Or you can trust the creator who's telling you exactly why you're struggling and exactly who's to blame. And there's also something a bit more insidious going on with the internet and the feedback loop it provides that I don't think enough people really understand or are talking about. I brought this article up in my last video, but it is simply too important to not bring it up again. This National Geographic article shows how social media keeps you in a constantly deregulated, traumatized state. In the article, there was a study measuring acute stress after viewing the pictures of the Boston Marathon bombing in 2013, and they found that people who viewed more violent imagery were more likely to report post-traumatic stress symptoms like nightmares, hypervigilance, and emotional numbness 6 months later.
Hey, don't call me stupid, but I need to look up what hypervigilance is. I believe it's like talking about Batman, like being a vigilante. Hypervigilance definition. State of heightened alertness where the nervous system is constantly on guard, scanning for potential threats, even in safe environments, often stemming from trauma or PTSD. But isn't that just a normal man thing? Like, I mean, when I walk into a cafe or something, I scan the room. You know, when I walk into a room, I scan the room. It says feeling perpetually on guard, like danger could strike at any moment. But danger could strike at any moment. That's the world we live in, you know what I mean?
But this is the insane part. Individuals who consumed over 6 hours of media per day reported more acute psychological symptoms like unwanted dreams, difficulty sleeping, and intrusive memories than those who were actually at the bombing. So think about how often this happens nowadays, now that we have access to all of the world's tragedies that are thrust down our throat.
No, run that back. Individuals who consumed over 6 hours of media per day reported more acute psychological symptoms like unwanted dreams, difficulty sleeping, and intrusive memories than those who were actually at the bombing. And that's a good point. The internet, that is a problem. So like my generation, we grew up seeing messed up stuff on the internet, you know what I mean, as children. It definitely did some damage for sure. And one thing I want to say from something recently is, you know, when Charlie Kirk was shot, and I saw the video, it was kind of surreal the way it happened. I was just chilling with my dad, just happened to be over there, and then my brother comes home from school, and he's like, they shot Charlie Kirk. And I was like, what? Like, he was like, my dad was like, you're joking or something, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, what? Like, that's so, who would have expected that? You know what I mean? He doesn't have any power. He's not like a politician. He owns Turning Point. He owned Turning Point, which is cool, but that's something. But like, wouldn't the assassin go for it? Regardless, seeing that video, like, dude, it did something to me, man. Like, watching the, you know, like, it hurt. Like, your heart drop. You feel it in your stomach. You know what I mean? It's not good to see. So I feel like stuff like that should be kind of censored, you know? Like, it shouldn't just be out there.
We're actually at the bombing. So think...
Huh? No, not really. Yeah, they can. Yeah. Not if I sit here, though. You're good.
How often this happens nowadays, now that we have access to all of the world's tragedies that are thrust down our throat at all times on social media. You have millions of young Americans stuck in an emotional state that is similar, if not worse, to trauma survivors, who then go out into the real world in that emotional state, who then affect the world in that emotional state due to how they engage with it. Like, it's no fucking wonder why Gen Z is so radicalized, because when you're in such an emotionally dysregulated state all the time, the logic centers of the brain turn off. You stop seeking the nuance, you stop trying to find objective truth, and you simply just grasp onto whatever makes sense in that moment, whatever's the most extreme, and whatever attaches to your emotions the most and makes you feel the most pleasurable in that moment. And in that moment, it's gonna be some sort of radical thinking. So let's try to distill everything that has led to Gen Z's radicalization in a few sentences. They live in a time of increasing debt, unemployment, and economic uncertainty. The traditional forms of meaning, whether through religion or community in real life, have kind of dissolved. There's a growing distrust in institutions to set things right, and an equally growing divide between a generation that came up in a steadier world and one raised inside an ever-changing, ever-complex hyper-reality. And as a result, to try to form any semblance of belonging, meaning, or revolt, Gen Z is more prone to radicalize themselves into loads of different subgroups.
I mean, AI will create more millionaires in 5 years than the internet did in 20. Disappear for a month.
Do you really think I'm just gonna leave this video on that note? Absolutely not. I do not believe in raising awareness to problems without posing solutions. I don't know.
I do agree with that. You know, this is what's wrong, this is what's wrong, and then, all right, see you guys later, but like not actually giving any, even if it's not what actually would help, it's what you think would help. I mean, you gotta add that in, you know.
Maybe that's probably obvious to you by now, but here's what I do know, what I told you. We have been in a similar situation before. The youth have fought to restore meaning and to create a less bleak future through hope. The constantly dysregulated states we find ourselves in due to the atrocities portrayed on social media makes it much harder for most people to actually enact the changes they want to see in the real world. But I promise you, you have more agency over your life than you think, and you will realize it when you fight against these primal urges to seek out negative information and hopelessness on this thing. I thought for a while about what message I wanted to leave you with, and I think this is it. In order to escape the radicalization rabbit hole you might find yourselves in, you need to escape or be inspired through art. And before you get all
okay, all right, he's starting to get based now. He's starting to get based. Art, literally, I want to make a video about that. I was just thinking about that the other day. Art is the only way out of this. Like, truly, art. You have to have a soul and a heart to produce art, whether it's painting, music, whatever. The only way out of this, I feel like, at least from a mental health perspective, with all the crap that goes down in the world, with all the struggles that everyone has, and money struggles and just political struggles or whatever it is, I think art can save the world. I know that's like a hippie thing to say, but I really feel that. I really do. So maybe Cole Hastings is kind of based. We'll see.
Me, like, what the hell is this guy even talking about? Let me tell you a story about two people during World War I who instilled optimism back into the youth. In 1916, Switzerland was neutral but surrounded by the chaos of war. Optimism for the future was hard to come by, and people needed a place to cope with reality's relentless bad news.
Oh no.
Writers and intellectuals that fled there, Hugo Ball and Emmy Hennings opened what they called the Cabaret.
My bad, guys, my bad.
About two people during World War I inspired through art. And before you get all mad at me, like, what the hell is this guy even talking about? Let me tell you a story about two people during World War I who instilled optimism back into the youth. In 1916, Switzerland was neutral but surrounded by the chaos of war. Optimism for the future was hard to come by, and people needed a place to cope with reality's relentless bad news. Inspired by the artists, writers, and intellectuals that fled there, Hugo Ball and Emmy Hennings opened what they called the Cabaret Voltaire in 1916. The Cabaret staged absurd performances, including spoken word, dance, and music. Though some of these performances were directly tied to the war, much of the entertainment was experimental, allowing the audience to, if only for a moment, escape the raging conflict. This used to be the young people's best way of escaping from the atrocities of life that they couldn't make a direct impact on in the moment. They immersed themselves.
Well, I want to take it a step further, and going to a gallery is great and all, and seeing the art is great, and being inspired by it, sure, but take it a step further and make your own art. And I think that's the solution.
Gathering together in groups that, in most cases, I would say, didn't discriminate and were very welcoming. When people came out of that viewing experience, out of engaging with art, suddenly they were instilled with a bit of hope. And though the idea of a better future might have seemed far away, that little sense of hope reverberated throughout their actions. If we compare that to how we cope today, the difference is night and day. Our forms of escapism don't leave us more refreshed and inspired to take on the world when we return to it. They only leave us more doomeristic and hopeless. If we really want to start feeling like things will get better, which will in turn allow us to do the actions that will actually make life better for us in the future, we need to engage with art meaningfully like we used to. Art is where we go to make sense of the world. It's where connections are made and stories take place that ignite inspiration and optimism within us. A good book, a good movie, a good painting, a good piece of craftsmanship. This is where we see someone's tireless process materialized that some part of us can relate to. And when we see and we're surrounded by people who have the same feelings we have, who overcame those feelings and overcame that struggle through art, we start to think to ourselves, maybe that's possible for me too. Maybe I can start to shift things into a positive state. When you detach yourself from the phone, when you immerse yourself in a great piece of fiction, or you paint, or you journal, or you write, or you build some DIY project while you're still working through your emotions, that's when you start to realize there is a future that looks better, and it is a future I can contribute to. As soon as you feel yourself getting emotional and wanting to turn to this rectangle to shut your brain off, stop. Let your thoughts breathe. Think about how you're trying to blame some sort of average person or some group of people for what's going on in the world, and how you want to become radicalized, and how your emotions are starting to fill up. Sit with those emotions, as awful as they might feel, and move through them through some sort of art form, or through some sort of healthy escapism like I outlined in this video. Just realize how every human, at the end of the day, just wants to feel fulfilled, like their actions mean something in the world. And if someone is super radicalized, you now understand why the world would push them to that sort of thinking. And you don't necessarily have to give that type of person sympathy, but at the very least you can have that sort of understanding and perhaps push them to not be as radicalized in their thinking through healthy, engaging conversations, healthy discourse, and healthy disagreements that could help push us towards a better world where we understand, yeah, we're pretty fucking different, but we're also pretty fucking alike, and everyone kind of just wants the same thing, and there's probably a better way to do all of this. And that's a world where we can actually start tackling the root issues of economic instability, institutions failing, and a lack of meaning, instead of blaming it on a certain race or because you don't have a high enough sexual market value. I would love to hear how you inject more optimism into this world in the comments below. Let's start a positive chain just to get the more positive stuff flowing so people actually feel influenced to get off their phones or get off whatever they're watching this on right now and go engage with the real world and smile at people and just think, well, we're going to fucking make it through this because we've been in a similar situation before and we'll get through it again. And that is it. That is it. I'm not going to tell you to watch another video. Go enjoy life.
Wow. Well, I gotta say, guys, he really pulled it together in the end. That was a great message. Go enjoy life. Yeah. You know what? Matter of fact, I know I said I'd go till midnight, but my other video is 50 minutes long. And that's a pretty big one. So I think we're gonna save that for next time. Guys, hope you enjoyed the stream. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. God bless you all. Have a great day, and like our boy Cole said, go enjoy life. Find some sort of art. Go appreciate it. Go talk to people in real life. Get off your phone.